Whenever they're ready, let's tell me when you're ready. All right, Caesar. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is Monday, November 5th, in the year 2018. We had a 5:30 scheduled time. I'll start. I just silenced my phone. That's a huge hint to all of you. It's 5:38 p.m. President roll call. Councilperson Ridley is not present. Prinzeri? Here. Baggiano? Here. Yun? Here. Solomon? Here. Robinson? Rivera? Councilperson Waterman is not yet arrived?
She'll be absent.
She'll be absent. Okay, President. President.
Yes, here.
Okay. Hey, spread it out, Mike. You can.
Okay, if you're just walking in or you haven't told me yet, let me know how many items you have, because Marlene is not here tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, how many, Mark?
Just the one, but we can't. The prescription audit. I don't know where it went. It's supposed to be on here. It's not. So we're looking for it.
One, Carmen. And who else? Metro, you got one? You got anything?
Company. Remedy.
Do you have something? Okay. Steve, you gonna hang out with us all night? You're with Pat, okay. Oh, Marty, I didn't get you. You guys together? Yeah? Okay. Okay, let's get started.
Yeah, it was there. I don't know where. Maybe it was like clipped to something else. I don't know. It was there.
Okay, you're gonna have to sort this out later.
Well, yeah, we'll have to find it.
Okay, Marianne, which items do you have?
I don't have the number in front of me. This is. I gave my agenda away. Oh. This is a standard resolution. Yep, thank you.
The resolution submitting a strategic plan to the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse for fiscal grant cycle July 2014 through June 2020. Okay. Marianne, take it away.
So this is a standard resolution requesting the City Council to allow us to submit our strategic plan to the county. This is very similar to what you just approved for last year. It normally runs on a 5-year cycle. The state, the Governor's Council on Tourism extended it a year, so this is what you're seeing is a 6-year plan. This is the 6th year. It's the same exact plan we submitted last year, and going forward, we will be working together to develop the next 5-year cycle plan. So this is really just asking you to allow me to apply for this funding on behalf of the city.
Plan.
I'm sorry?
Can you just send us the plan?
Sure, yeah.
Great. Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you. That was fast, huh? All right, let's see. Paul, you're up.
Thank you. 10R.
10R.
Resolution authorizing the execution of a grant agreement and acceptance of a grant award from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. SAMHSA. SAMHSA.
Yes. We have been awarded $375,000 over 3 years, by which we propose to train over 3,000 people in mental health first aid and other mental health preventive services, helping people identify problems sooner and get treatment sooner, thus resulting in better outcomes. The services will be delivered principally to government employees and public safety workers to help them spot problems with the people they work with, de-escalate crises, and that's it. We are one of only 6 cities awarded nationwide.
Questions, anyone? Just, of the synopsis of, not the full grant application, but like the executive summary.
Sure. The brief executive summary is that we know for, oh, sure, can do.
Thank you, Paul. Councilman Robinson, let it be noted for the record. Welcome.
5:43.
Okay, and let's see. I'm gonna bring up,
Tanya and
yep, Tanya. Tanya, you're here for the 2060, right? No.
yeah.
So this is a second reading ordinance. If folks have questions or concerns or other things, this is item 4D. The ordinance of the council to adopt amendments to the Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan to amend height standards in Zone 4 and create a new district, Zone 4A. This is Councilman Boggiano's ward.
5 years for these changes to come. There's some that have said they didn't know anything about it, and I don't understand how that could be when there's emails going back and forth to various groups. This should be passed and put aside because, as I said, 5 years is a long time we've been fighting for it.
So Tanya, quick question, because yes, Councilman Rich President mentioned today, I got some email from the other, block associations, and they claim that they have not enough public input. And in other words, maybe you guys didn't have any, some kind of public hearing, any community meetings?
Yeah, multiple, actually.
Multiple, right?
Yep. The issue is that most of it was done in 2017, but it's been the same thing since, pretty much. There hasn't been, what we discussed with them in 2017 hasn't changed for what you guys have now. The lag, right, was that we had to do a lot of, I think, legal review on it just to make sure that we were kind of airtight and moving forward.
So as I know that the council, which was fighting for almost 4 years to try to amend the Journal Square 2060, so, but the couple of weeks ago when I received the email, the certain block association claimed that they didn't have some kind of they didn't get some input for the disorders, but you think you guys enough already?
Yeah, I mean, and this is also the result of a couple of planning board applications that were incredibly difficult with the community, especially in Perrine and High, and this ordinance is a response to a lot of that, like, kind of feedback, and so in that regards, I feel like we've been hearing from this community pretty solidly, consistently for the past couple of years.
This is the new Journal Square committee?
I'm talking about Hilltop in particular, but also anybody who lives on Perrine and High, which is technically within the new Journal Square.
And also, when I see that your plan, one of the items is a Journal Square 2060 issue is the parking.
Yeah.
I think that those kind of issues not addressed in this amendment yet.
No.
And any reason, specific reason you not address that parking issue in Journal Square?
No, I really just tried to address the height issue.
That's the height issue.
Hmm?
But did you remember the one project in, what's the New Coke Avenue? They want to try to build that so many units without parking at all, and the top of that they're looking for tax abatement, and the city council actually rejected their request for tax abatement because of that. Build any parking in those areas. We know that the Journal Square is a hub of the transportation, but still, people need a parking, But in any future, you have any plan to amend that, bring up the sum, even the low rate of the parking space in Journal Square?
Within the next year, we really want to do the holistic amendment that we've really kind of been talking about, which really takes a look at the whole plan. but we felt like we really needed to deal with the smaller streets and kind of protect them first. So we wouldn't necessarily be dealing with parking within this amendment because these are smaller lots and smaller houses, where generally this plan wouldn't even require it on a lot that's 25 by 100 or 40 by 100.
I just let you know that parking is a major issue in Jones Square too. Even though they have very near mass transportation available, but still parking. And the existing resident has the number one concern, So I hope is next time when you have some amend, come up some idea to how we're going to resolve the problem of parking in those areas. Okay?
Michael, parking is an issue throughout the whole city.
Yes, whole city, but
yeah.
especially Jones Square is worse because the commuter park the car in the our street, So please, other than that,
If you go down to Charlotte, and you go into the business area where there are huge buildings just like downtown Jersey City, they have parking garages all over the place. And they don't have the problems we have because they built these parking garages. And that's the answer to these, to every neighborhood, downtown, the Heights, Journal Square, Ward B, Ward F, all the wards.
Building parking garages within the wards.
What?
Building parking garages
Yeah.
within the wards.
That's what, go to Charlotte and see what Charlotte has, it's beautiful. But this plan, this 2060 plan really has nothing to do with parking.
So it's amending the existing plan. So my question was that while we add another items, the parking, or just parking issue, but that is going to be next year's, right?
Right. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and there's probably things that we can look into it. Simultaneously, we're also doing the parking study.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that'll definitely give us a lot of cues that we need to follow for probably a bunch of redevelopment plans and zoning in general. Okay. Okay.
One thing,
Yeah.
can you just send me these things in color? You can email it directly to me, would appreciate it. Just email it, I'll print it out. I figured it out, thanks. Okay, next person, Kevin, Mr. Lyons.
10J. It's just the third amendment to the agreement between the City of Jersey City and the Corporation for National Community Service, just re-upping the VISTA program for 2 more years, till 2020. It's 10J, the VISTA program, renewing it, we're extending the memorandum of agreement for 2 more years. So, it gives us till April of 2020.
Very interesting program. After they training, the work in the City of Jersey, 2 years, how many people actually left and how many people show interest to work in Jersey City?
We retain about 10 people from... So we've had about 10 every year, so a third of the people stay behind, we hire, and have worked in the workforce somewhere.
This program, how many years? The period of time, how many years?
That was 3.
3 years. Okay, it's a very interesting. This 3 years program. And how many people's?
We had about 30, so we kept we employed about 10 after it.
And the 10 people stay in the job, right?
Yeah.
It's a City Hall. The reason
Throughout
I'm
the city.
reason I'm asking you, they spend the time 2 years. Just if you left the Jersey City, we waste our time, But
Well,
after
they're here
this,
for 1 year. They're only here for a year.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, Michael.
Where are they going to be employed? Right now, there's 6. So there's one at the Department of Public Works that'll be finishing up service soon. There are 2 positions at the municipal court, one at the community court, one at the youth court, one in diversity inclusion, one working on youth engagement with the mayor's office and the ROC, and the last one, that is the 5, right? Yeah. 6 total, yeah. 6.
DPW, 2 court, 1 diversity inclusion, 1.
Oh, and HHS with Paul, actually, Paul Bellenboyer. All right. Okay, thank you.
Is there someone here?
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. Yes.
And you want to table the Verizon?
Let's bring up Christine Goodman first.
Okay.
Christine, what are you here for?
18-971, the cooperative marketing grant. Grant 18-1000. Yeah. 1000, the Poet Laureate. 10Z15, sorry.
The only change to that replacement is rather than making it a one-year term with an option for the council to renew that person for one more year, it is now a straight two-year term, a two-year contract. And I believe the amount is going to be amended to $1,500 per year for a total of $3,000, not $3,000 per year as it currently is. And I'll have a change sheet for everyone on Wednesday, assuming that's the direction we want to go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry for the last-minute changes on that.
Go ahead. Anything else you want to say about it? Oh, 10L first.
Oh, I
Start there.
apologize. I went out of order. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
10L, we're starting with.
Okay, so this is for the acceptance of a cooperative marketing grant from the New Jersey Department of Tourism. This is for $10,500, and that is for the Jersey City Art and Studio Tour 2019. And it will help us expand our marketing reach outside of the immediate region. So the grant is really about helping us focus our advertising dollars on places that will bring people into Jersey City.
Okay. Questions, folks? No? None?
To get it on the record, great job to you and your staff and everybody that worked on JCast this year. You guys have been really great. And really great to see the new cultural center space / museum as how it can actually be. So good job.
Be a great tour guide from the west side.
It'll be a great tour guide from the west side, for sure.
10Z15 is the resolution creating the first poet laureate of the city of Jersey City.
So the background to this is that the Jersey City Arts Council, working with its Literary Arts Committee, evaluated nominations for a poet laureate based on creative excellence and community impact, and based on that, they sent the finalist names and supporting recommendations to us.
This particular resolution is actually creating the position.
This is to create the position, yes.
So it's a civil service position? Protected with civil service? Never mind. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You could stay. Let's see, who do we have? Carmen, come on down.
I know she's here about 10Z14, a resolution of the council authorizing program contracts for summer youth programs under the Community Development Block Grant Public Services for the year April 1, 2017 through March 31, 2018.
Okay, this is the one that was,
Withdrawn
Full
2 meetings ago.
agenda.
2 meetings ago.
good?
Station with Carmen, yes.
Anyone else? Questions?
They don't get any money?
$10,000.
They're for 10,000.
All right, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that they didn't get any money. They don't get any more money than that?
Anymore. So this is the summer program for the grant. So it's a set amount of funds. I think it was $100,000 that was set aside from last year. So they did receive, they are being awarded dollars this year. So, but any additional dollars would be through the general entitlement program, which I speak to you guys on next year.
So my next question is that, as Councilman Michibojano, and then last time they withdrew and you bring back, any reason was a withdraw and any reason you have to bring back this one? What is the difference between last one and this one?
Identical.
It's the same.
Identical? Okay, what was
I
the
just
reason?
had some questions.
Yeah. Oh, you
Councilman
did?
Robinson had
Yeah,
questions.
I had
Oh,
questions.
you did?
I think there was a date on the
The
fact
date
sheet that
on the
was
fact
the
sheet?
same as the others.
These for services already rendered.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Services have already been rendered, so this is, okay, thank you. Let's see. What do you got, Brian? Okay. 10Y. 10Y.
Yep, and
10Z. 10Y and Z.
10Y, 10Z. 10Y is a resolution authorizing award of contract to Adamo Brothers Construction for the Sergeant Anthony Park.
So,
As playground improvements.
correct. Put out publicly bid, and this is the lowest responsible bidder. We feel we got great numbers for the project, so we'd like to recommend award and get the project going. Weather may postpone until late winter, early spring, only because of the fact that the batch plants will be closing and the acrylic surface coating can't be done in the winter weather. And we don't feel like we want to close the park totally to the public all that time.
Council Bojano, what do you think? It's your-
Well, like I say, it's about time. Has been, have you notified them up there?
Yes, sir.
Any improvements that you're looking to do? Consulted with the Sergeant Anthony Park Group. Stuff. Yep. Great. Thank you, Brian. Let's go to the next one. 10Z. 10Z is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to PSE&G for supplying and installing decorative light poles at Riverview Fisk Park. Renovations project number 2015-021 for the Department of Administration Division of Architecture.
So this is standard operating procedure for our decorative lighting improvements at Riverview Fisk renovation project. This is just slightly ahead of the actual construction documents, and that's because it takes a while to coordinate with PSE&G.
Questions, folks?
So just as you know that they're supposed groundbreaking the April this year, and they delayed it. Can you make some kind of your formal statement of what was the reason to delay it, so people know that?
Well, there were a couple of reasons working with the neighborhood group. One is change in the project scope. We are adding a decorative fountain that requires a little bit more engineering than was originally anticipated. And then dealing with PSE&G, we lost probably 6 to 8 months back and forth with PSE&G. Yes.
Okay.
And that's what brought us from that point to this point.
So next year maybe they have some groundbreaking possible.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your job. It's almost 3-4 years already. It'll take a while.
Can't take credit for all of that, but yes. Yes. It'll be nice. It'll be nice.
And as I say, the $1.2 million has, when you have raining, instead of the water go outside, you have pitching problems, the water will stay inside of it. So I want to make sure you address the problem, correct the problem. All right.
Andrew? Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Good evening. 3B and 3C.
3B and C. 3B is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, amending the time parking is restricted for street cleaning purposes on 15th Street from Marin Boulevard to Erie Street and 16th Street from Marin Boulevard to Jersey Avenue to 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
That about sums it up. The time,
It does.
the street cleaning times were 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.
3C is ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Articles 8.
This extends Zone 8, one block on Fulton Avenue between Sterling Avenue and West Side Avenue. We received a petition from the people on the block with about 85 signatures. Sure.
Yeah, which one is it, 4C or 4B? No, 4B for this, the no right on reds. Unfortunately, there was, last week on Cole Street on Columbus, a woman was crossing on Coles and the car didn't stop on a red light and hit her, and she's gonna survive, but with very, very serious injuries. So, and she'll be, I think long-term recovery will be okay, but You know, this is part of why we were pushing the no right on red for these ones, and I would, if open to the whole council, if you guys are interested in considering a citywide ban, that's something I certainly would consider. So I want to at least throw that out there, something to think about in the future.
Citywide ban on what?
No right on red.
No right on red.
Yeah. Banning right on red, not banning no red. So I just wanted that, yeah.
Has there been any sort of study on how much more time people stand in traffic? Because I know, for example, when there's no right on red on West Side Avenue Community Hall, people get very angry and they decide to make their own rules. So I guess like that would just be, is there an enforcement component? That's not really to you, but.
Do you have any, Andrew, do you have any thoughts? Yeah.
To your first point, it would be difficult to say generally how it would affect traffic because it varies so much depending on the geometry at the intersection and how many people are actually making right turns. It's sort of a case-by-case basis.
What time was the accident? It was evening.
So there would be no red on red at all?
Yes, something to think about.
24/7.
Yes.
It's not part of this.
This is not part of this
No,
ordinance.
I just, because I was thinking some of the same thing, but I was actually thinking doing it earlier in the day.
Early,
Yeah, like after 7 or before, you know.
Sure.
Or maybe we can stop it at 9.
Happy to talk about it. See what you guys think.
And one of the outcomes of the pedestrian enhancement plan was looking at right turn on red restrictions at commercial corridors where there's higher levels of pedestrian traffic. So let's say Central Avenue, West Side Avenue, things like that. Thank you.
All right. Mark has an item that's not currently there, but it should have been. Right?
Yeah, this is, apologies to the council. So this was something we discussed at the agenda meeting last week, and there was a change that needed to be made to it, and it never made it back on the agenda for your packets. So we respectfully request that you consider it, although if there's a lot of questions and a lot of issues with it, we can discuss that as well. So, yeah, so this is for you.
It is a resolution authorizing the award of a competitively bid contract to Remedy Analytics for auditing of the prescription drug plan.
Yeah, so essentially what this is we're understanding the costs of health benefits for the city. We've really tried to look very closely at what we can do to try to minimize some of those costs. One of those things is auditing. So this contract is for a company to come in and help us audit our prescriptions. So what it will eventually do is work in two different ways. One is they go back and look at all of the prescriptions that are filled over the course of a planned year. And if somebody was paid out for a certain medication at a higher price than they should have been, by somebody I mean if one of the providers of medication submitted a claim for, say, Tylenol, and we pay them out at the rate for, say, Advil instead of the Tylenol rate, this auditor will go back and say, actually, we actually owe us money, we shouldn't have paid you that much, and then we're able to recoup those funds over time. So that's the one way they get money from us. And then another way is when we award a contract to our provider for pharmaceutical benefits, they look at the contract and say, in sort of very deep detail, and determine that they're able to essentially negotiate a much better rate for certain prescriptions that our employees would fill. So they go back and look at all the claims and determine what money can be recouped for the city, and they look at it going forward and say they negotiate a better contract with us to ensure that we get better rates for our overall prescription coverage.
Is this like brand versus generic?
So it's.
Yeah, it is. So we're not forcing people to be prescribed a particular drug or a particular brand or generic. We're just making sure that we're paying the right amount for what they've been prescribed.
Right. So it's a little funky, but the overall point is that it looks back at all the claims every quarter. They say, okay, let's look at all the prescriptions that the city paid out. Okay, so if the city paid out those prescriptions at a higher rate than they should have, we go back and we recoup those funds. It's not from the employee in any respect. It's from it's actually the auditor does it from the companies that are providing the drugs, right? So it's not to the employee at all. Okay, so that's every quarter they go back and they essentially recoup money for us. And then again, going forward, they work with us to negotiate a better contract with our pharmaceutical benefits provider to ensure that we're getting the best rates going forward when it comes to filling our employee prescriptions.
The auditing all the drug prescription.
Exactly.
So that's a great idea, they should do that, but those kind of job, if you give to fixed dollar amount contract, I think we better be like a, basic commission based. If you save the $500,000, you will get the 10% of what we save.
Yeah.
It's better than we just say, first you $500,000, second so 450.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. So
let me clarify. So that is exactly what we're doing. So we did an RFP. There were 3 responses. 2 of the companies came back and gave a flat rate, $100,000, $200,000. Remedy, the company that we're awarding it to, is the only company that came back with a percentage of whatever it is. So if you look at the contract, it's capped at $500,000. So it's a percentage of whatever they recover, capped at $500,000. So $500,000 is the most they would ever recover. So even if they recover for us $2 million, the most they're ever going to get is a percentage of what they recover, capped at $500,000.
So
It is.
so-
let me just make
yeah,
sure.
what
I think
is
it's
the-
15%? I believe of whatever they recover.
I don't see the percentage thing unless I'm missing it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
so ju-
15% of savings. We can amend it, but it's 15% of savings. Yeah, if you, it's not. I don't know if it's in that. This is an attachment, but I can provide it to you what the breakdown is. But it's 15% of whatever they recoup for us in year 1, and 50% in year 2 as well, and also in year 3, 15% all years if we elect to renew for a 3rd year. But the cap goes down each year. So it's $500,000 the first year, then $450, and then $400.
So that's simple. So whatever we say, they're going to take 15% of that.
Correct.
But the 15% of total, not more than $500,000 first year.
Correct, in year 1.
So we got nothing to lose.
Nothing.
Yes,
I think
great.
a lot to gain, because we've not done this before.
We stand to gain a lot. Yeah, we're not gonna give a number right now, but we think it's gonna be a good amount. Yeah.
Good job.
So we will.
This
If we can see the cup.
innovative idea.
This guy.
You know what I'm saying? You did? You deserve something.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the way it should be. Instead to spend our dollars to get find out, you know, that they're saving, let them come up idea, to let them work that, and do get some percentage. But 15% seems like a pretty high. You know what I'm saying? Because 15% is not that cheap.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we tried to get that cap in there, though. So 15%, let's say if they, magically recover $10 million from us, right? I mean, the reason why we put the cap in there is because no matter what, like once they start recovering a lot of money from us, eventually we become the winner in the overall scenario, because the more money they get, once they hit that cap, they're out of it, and then the city is the one that gets more money.
This question is that, what is that the total prescription drugs, what we spending now?
About 35 million, roughly. About $35 million, yeah. A year.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. So this is sort of something that we've never done this before. So we feel, again, we're not going to say a number, but we feel very strongly that we're going to be able to recoup a fair amount of money from this effort.
We pay so much for salary per year. I want you to be part of the plan, so you own their money. This is the way to you own your money. Good luck.
We'll email you all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need the contract.
Yeah, we'll email the contract. Yeah.
So the company we're awarding it to has 7 other New Jersey municipalities that they already work with. I can provide the listing of who they are. They did not disclose it. Apparently after the award is when they will disclose it, but they have 7 other New Jersey clients they're working with. The other 2 respondents don't have any other New Jersey clients. So, I mean, that's another reason why we decided to go with them as well. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Mark, you'll get the contract out. First thing in the morning?
Oh, by the way, would you tell the mayor I'm very fair with the plan?
Oh, Michael, give it up. Okay.
Reason to say that.
10-7-16, Councilman. 10-Z-16.
10Z. The file number is 18-1001.
We didn't.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's not a record, but we didn't crack 1,000.
This is the resolution authorizing the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police to utilize property owned by the City of Jersey City, located at 605 Monmouth Street, to construct a facility to house the Jersey City Police Department mounted unit. Well, let's let Director Kears deliver his opening statement, and then.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. I'd like to read a memorandum into the official record which was emailed to each member of the council earlier today. I respectfully submit the following resolution for your consideration. This resolution will authorize the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police to utilize city-owned property located at 605 Monmouth Street to construct a facility to house the Jersey City Police Department mounted unit. In 2004, then Jersey City Mayor Glenn D. Cunningham tasked me with researching the reestablishment of the Jersey City Police Department mounted unit. The original mounted police unit was established in August 1873 and proudly served the city until 1972, when it was disbanded by then Mayor Paul Jordan. With the untimely death of Mayor Cunningham, plans to reestablish this valuable policing tool stopped until Mayor Steve Fulop decided it was time to further explore the possibility of making this valuable police tool a possibility. There are many benefits of patrol on horseback. These include visibility for an officer to see over crowds or situations, as well as for increased perception of police presence when a person can see an officer in a crowd. They provide mobility, many times allowing an officer to get to a scene faster and more efficiently than a foot or in a vehicle. They are ambassadors of goodwill and will encourage approachability by members of the public, since many of the people love animals or are curious about horses. A mounted patrol unit is also used for crowd management. Some of the benefits using the mounted patrol include enabling the officer to assess a crowd, its actions, eliminating face-to-face confrontation between citizen and police officers, providing a calming effect on crowds in tense situations, and providing a strong police force multiplier, since one mounted patrol officer equals 10-footed police officers. A mounted patrol unit provides a vital function in all types of situations, ranging from large-scale planned and unplanned events to small community gatherings. Given the nature of the patrol on horseback, it is advisable that mounted officers respond to street-level crimes. Many of these concerns could be characterized as quality-of-life crimes. These crimes and types of behavior reflect negatively on a neighborhood. They increase the perception that a neighborhood is unsafe. Criminals are emboldened and good citizens are discouraged. Some types of behavior that would be considered as quality of life consist of urination in public, vagrancy, disorderly person, noise complaints, traffic offenses, littering, vandalism, drug dealing, prostitution, public intoxication, theft, loitering, and trespassing. By utilizing state-of-the-art crime mapping software, we can pinpoint grids, which are small geographical areas within the city, that are suffering from high rates of such activity. While patrol officers and squad cars have a wide range of mobility, they are expected to answer calls for service. Mounted officers can stay in a small geographic area and are usually not subject to dispatch calls. This means that if a certain grid is identified as experiencing a high number of quality-of-life street crimes, mounted officers can set up in the neighborhood for hours, days, or even longer, and the effect can be dramatic. Contemplating the advantages to the senses of a mounted officer, they can hear more of the sounds of the neighborhood than an officer in a squad car with the windows rolled up. They can, what's that? It's two more pages, yes, there's three more pages, right? I'll read faster. They can see more from the vantage point at the top of the mount. They can smell more effectively, whether it be odor of burnt marijuana or the possibility of a house fire. They can speak with members of the community, as staying in the area, moving about on a horseback gives a free degree of accessibility to the citizens. They could also move with greater ease in and out of streets, alleys, parks, and yards. Oftentimes, the mere presence of a mounted officer in these types of neighborhoods has a deterrent effect on crime. Mounted officers project professionalism due to their uniform and mount, not to mention their skills on horseback. Being especially visible, it does not take long for the word to get out to the criminals that they are not welcome. They are no longer free to act with impunity, and citizens can see that police do care about their neighborhoods and are heartened to see their officers on their side. Enforcement, whether in the mode of presence, advisement, citations, or arrests, to make neighborhoods safe places to live. The goal is not only to give a small reprieve to the neighborhood, but also to assist in setting a path to greater security and providing a framework for its flourishing. I recently had the opportunity to meet with Police Officer Louis Camacho of the Newark Mounted Unit, who was their instructor and trainer. Police Officer Camacho related the Newark Police Department reinstated its mounted unit in 1987. The mounted unit currently has 10 horses and 7 officers to work with them. All police officers undergo 6 weeks of training to cover everything from the care and feeding of the horses to riding instructions to rules and regulations and procedures on horsemanship. The horses are all standard bred, a breed that's known for its prowess in harness racing, but has been found to have a steady temperament, stamina, and enjoyment of human companionship. They are supplied free of charge through the Standard Bred Retirement Foundation located in Cambridge, New Jersey. The patrol horses are used year-round, although not when there's inclement weather. Mounted officers are assigned to street patrol, whether a residential neighborhood or in a business district. In fact, one mounted officer is able to patrol an area which would require several officers on foot within an assigned patrol group. The mounted unit is also utilized at concerts, festivals, and many community-oriented events. They are great for public relations. Mounts are popular with adults and children wherever they are deployed. Their presence always results in positive community interactions and conversations. The annual budget, which is attached to that email, is approximately $162,000 a year. The Newark PD Mounted Unit also is supported by the Newark Police Foundation and various charitable groups and the Newark business community. The Newark Police Mounted Unit was recently the subject of a special project and film by Erica Tom, an equestrian graduate student at Rutgers University, Newark. A project study revealed that no matter what side of the law you are on or who you are, learning to communicate and build better relationships with the horses had a positive impact on individuals as well as those around them. Training. P.O. Camacho advised he would assist in the selection of the horses and provide a portion of the training for members of the unit and their mounts. He recommended I contact Chief Gabriel DiPietro of the Morris County Park Police Department, who could further assist. On October 15th, I met with Chief Pietro, who advised the Rockland County, New York Sheriff's Department offers a 6-week training course for new mounted officers at no cost, and he would be happy to arrange for the training. The facility. I've researched the modular barn offered through Horizon Structures, which provide 11 12x12 stalls, 1 wash stall, 1 12x12 tack room, 1 12x12 office, and a 12x24 locker room. The facility would be delivered and set up on a proposed location at 605 Monmouth Street for the sum of $189,786. With the assistance of Joseph Cunha, city engineer, $189,786. With the assistance of city engineer Joe Cunha, I obtained preliminary estimates for electrical, water, and sewer, which are approximately $100,000. The responsibilities of the mounted unit are excellent beacons to the community. Police frequently want to come up to the horses when they otherwise wouldn't come to an individual officer. This allows for better information gathering, intelligence, and increasing public confidence. Where an officer in a car may move through an area so quickly, others don't or can't notice it. A horse is much more noticeable and likely to be seen. An officer on horseback is valuable to a situation as the department has 10 officers on foot. In addition to general police patrol, the mounted police unit would serve our 60 citywide parks, festivals, marathons, athletic events, and provide critical support to the city's annual July 4th event exchange place. The yearly budget. A review of the budget information supplied relative to the operation of the Newark Mounted Unit is estimated. The cost associated with the Jersey City PD Mounted Unit would be between $135,000 and $150,000 per year based on 8 mounts. Answering questions, smiling, laughing, making myself available for photos. These are all creating a bond with the people we serve. While in their uniforms and motor transport may harken back to the bygone days of police history, it is evident that the creation of this unit leads to greater realization that, in the words of Sir Robert Peel, the police are the public and the public are police. Thank you very much.
Everything you're saying is fine. You weren't on the job when we had social unrest here. And the greatest asset we had the horses in 72 to 73, I believe. And the greatest asset we had were the motorcycles, not the horses, all right? And they're much more effective.
13 years ago.
Yeah, I know, you were on, right? The cost of the building is way out of line. It's gonna cost a lot more. The stables are gonna be, you're gonna have to have employees for the stables. Veterinarian expenses are gonna be tremendous. Not only that, you're gonna have horse poop all over the city. And then you're gonna have the jobs. Who's gonna get these jobs that are gonna be created? You're gonna have lawsuits because some kids are gonna go up and pet the horse and the horse is gonna hit them with their foot. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. We have motorcycles sitting down there we paid $30,000 each for, going to waste because they won't bring them back. The motorcycle is much more effective. Bring the motorcycles back. Let's bring our police officers back to the city with a police academy and then start talking maybe about horses when the city has the money. This project is gonna cost this city a fortune. The veterinarian fees, I hear problems from the cops that have dogs about the city complaining about vet fees. You know what horse fees are?
It's all detailed in the report, Councilman, it's very detailed.
I don't believe any report that's written by anybody, you know, because you know as well as I do, Greg, and I'm not arguing with you, all right? We gotta sit down, we gotta talk. You know just as well as I do, all these reports mean absolutely nothing. West District was gonna be built in a year and a half, took, what, 10 years? It was only gonna cost X amount of money, it cost a fortune. We sold 8 Erie Street because we couldn't keep it, you know, repairs on it. Everything you hear, all these reports coming out by the city are BS. This is an absolute joke. Bring back the motorcycles. That is the most effective tool for law enforcement. As you said, you were on them, what, 13 years? 13 years. I was on the bikes, smaller bikes in 73, 74, 75, and they were fantastic, all right? And when we had the problems here at City Hall, it was the motorcycles, when we had 200 cops surrounding this building here in 1973, it was the motorcycles that ended the disturbances and all the problems we had here. So I think this is something that should be put off to the future until we sit down. You know, who's on this police committee, Greg?
Right now, it's myself, Joe Cunha, Martin Valenti, who Marty obviously had the horses.
But you came on later on in...
I came on in 1981.
1981, all right. You had to be around when the horses were here. You had to be around, you know, we had once 106 motorcycles, I believe.
You lived here.
Huh?
We had 100 when I was there.
Yeah, 100.
Any other council members have comments? Councilor Robinson?
How would the horse be transported? Do we have to buy?
Yeah, that operational fee, Councilman, would be a one-time, the one-time budget we would set. The horse trailers are approximately $16,000. That would be a 4-horse trailer.
And how many horses are we planning to get?
Planning on 8. 8.
At what time?
8.
And how long? Oh, 8 at one time, right now?
Yes. Yeah. Basically, it's 6 weeks of training plus another 2 weeks, which will be given for the horse in the city of Newark, just to indoctrinate the horse to the urban environment, city-type traffic and things like that.
And how are we going to, use the horses? Will they be in all wards?
Yes, yeah, the General Police Patrol. General Police Patrol, parks. We have 60-some-odd parks throughout the city. I mean, there's a pocket park downtown, obviously, that, you know, you can't access to a radio car, may be accessible by bicycle, can be accessed by a mounted unit. I think in my research with this, I've been doing this for a good number of years. I had the opportunity to visit Philadelphia, Newark, spoke to the people in Pittsburgh, and obviously New York, NYPD, which has the largest squad in the United States, 55 mounts. And I think you'll see wherever, with Chief Kelly and Director Shea's community policing, I think this folds very well into what they're looking to accomplish. If you don't have the engagement and the support of the community, you're not going to be effective in the police department. It just doesn't work.
You know why the horses were taken away? You know why?
1972, Jordan and Fitz.
No. People were complaining about the horses. And when they would back up, when we had the problems here in the city, and you talk about police brutality, they were talking about horse brutality.
Well,
That's why
every major city that did away with them are now bringing them back.
All right, great. I agree with you. But why don't we sit down? Why wasn't this brought up? I understand we have a police thing. You're on it, Danny. I mean, you know, we heard about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. Why don't we sit down, postpone this, sit down and talk? Talk about the motorcycles and talk about some other issues in the police department.
Councilman, that's beyond my pay grade. That's the motorcycle. If those returning is a decision that has to be made by the director and chief. I'm just here to speak on this.
Well, the chief is probably in favor. It's another thing. And, you know, we have a civilian director, you know. The director, Shea, is public safety director. Then we have another director. And if you remember, when they were running for office, we were eliminating these jobs. But it costs us now $100,000. So why don't we pull this, and we'll sit down, like we did 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, at Shay's office, and sit down and discuss all these issues in a proper way. You know.
Is that a formal request to the administration?
Yeah.
Request is received.
Got it.
Anyone else have comments or questions? Councilman Young.
Councilman Bugiano, really. And we have a bicycle patrol, bicycle cops. They're one of the pre-impacted neighbor. Exactly the way you say about the mounted horse units when you create the bicycle cops. Where they are now? Not even.
As I said, Councilman, I'm just here to speak on this project. I'm not here to speak on police department policies and procedures.
Well, first, very interesting. If you're not moving forward, first things you have to clean your bathroom first. And we not even handle the basic items. And they want to try to spend another something. I'm telling you, it looks good. Nothing wrong with that. When you have 1,000 people come at the festival, the mountain horse units go walk around, it looks great. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it looks great for the city of Jersey, but practically, what is the benefit of people living in Jersey City? And when you use that the mountain horse, very limited time there when you can patrol, and it's a lot of things. It's weather permitted, not only that, a lot of issues going to be involved there. So what we pay for, what we're going to get, is very limited. Even motorcycle cop, if it's raining, they cannot work. So on so. But long story short, if we have a lot of money, if we have enough manpower to patrol the street, it's a great idea to have it. I totally agree with that. But this moment, there's still certain part of the area of Jersey City has gone in the war zone, you know what I'm saying? So please, this is a time we have to watch out every penny what we spend. National economic will now the top will go down now. And even real estate boom in Georgia slow down. So all those time, we have to save that. We have to save the money, so reserve was saved. We have to do for the rainy day. And if we have to continue to bring up stones, and I'm pretty sure Councilman James Allen probably not going to be happy with that. 605 on Mount Street built the stable up there. It smells going to be terrible in the summertime, I'm telling you now. And you're never going to complain to James Allen like hell. I mean,
it smells from the turnpike kind of.
Is that right? But this is worse.
That's true.
But if this smells something fresh, it's worse. So please.
Good for the garden.
Yeah, good for the garden, but so.
Okay.
I think first is the number wise and the city current policing issue. I think that's not right time. Maybe 3-4 years later, when we have a lot of money, we can talk about it. I like to have one. Nothing wrong with that. It looks great. But I think at this time, it's not right time to have.
Any other council members have comments or questions?
Of the city council, we can withdraw and bring back 2-3 years later based on our economic situation. If the money is able to spend, well, we got so much money in revenue, got no place to spend it, then time to spend it. But I think it's not right time because why? Motorcycle cop is very impacted, affecting the Jersey City. We demolished that unit even a bicycle cop is one of the good things for the Jersey City. Even they're not function well, and they bring up the horse again.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments, questions? Hearing none? Oh.
Is it going to be the officer itself and the officers?
This equipment, it's something that fits on the horse to capture.
The bag that basically goes around their hind legs.
So it won't drop it.
Right.
When the diaper is packed, you have to change.
So there's no droppings down the streets. Those days are long gone. Okay.
Going to transport.
Responsible for grooming the horse and all mains. It's similar, pretty much. Deputy Chief Kenny, who is in charge of special operations, had a conversation with the Newark PD, and he is reviewing their rules and regulations as the horses are, cared for and things like that. But Yeah, like you were when I was on the motorcycles. The motorcycle was your piece of equipment. You were responsible for its maintenance and things like that. So it's, you would be responsible for the daily grooming of the horse and all of that.
What they mean is that they take out 8 cups or maybe 10 cups from the street, put in the stable. If they're not able to walk in the street because of weather, you know what, they have to maintain the horse. So we take away 8 to 10 cups from the street.
If they're not, if due to inclement weather, if they follow Newark's guidelines, they'll be in radio cars or on walking posts.
Yeah, but at those times, they will maintain the horse, you know?
You could maintain an hour before.
Yeah, but you just mentioned.
Just like they do with the canines.
Motorcycle cops have a maintain, they have one of the duties that maintain, control that the motorcycle. The same thing, so horse too.
Right.
You know, so we try to maximize street patrol by our units, what we have, manpower, you know what I'm saying? We got not enough time to take away 8 cops or 10 cops from the street, put you one stable to take your horse. Before we take a horse, we gotta take your people. We gotta take the crime of Georgia City.
Greg, one other
Okay.
question.
Guys, gentlemen.
Hoboken, why did they do away with their horses?
Property was sold.
I'm sorry.
They did away with the horses, I think the horses because the property was sold. They had no place to keep them. All right.
Thank you, Director. Who do we got? Andrew, I'm sorry, Andrew. Is he here? Did we do Andrew already?
We did Andrew.
We did Andrew.
Verizon?
Sorry, Verizon, okay. John. John is, got the second reading ordinance. It's 4E.
Yeah, are there any additional questions?
This is, any additional questions regarding 4E or comments? This is the ordinance authorizing the execution of a rights-of-way use agreement between the City of Jersey City and SQF LLC doing business as Tilson to permit the installation of antennas and related communications equipment on existing utility poles and street light fixtures, and if necessary, to install newer replacement street light fixtures and utility poles within certain public rights-of-way for purposes of providing telecommunications services. Councilman.
Can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Sure, my name is Maureen Hopkins. I'm here from SQF.
To the council, we do something, so I recommend that we table after public hearing, and not to delay extensively, but to just enable a little bit more time for community outreach. So short explanation, I think either all or 99% of these are going in Ward E. Verizon had reached out to sit and meet with me in January, I believe, about this, but I did not know that it was coming back at this time. And my past 2 weeks have literally been jam-packed. Every hour I'm doing some form of work. So I have not had a chance to alert the community that this is coming and get their feedback. So what I would like to do is take public comment from anybody who has looked at the agenda. Table after that, I can commit to sending a note to all stakeholders on Wednesday, and then give them 2 weeks. If any concerns do arise, I can start a conversation with the law department and the BA and alert the council. But if concerns do not arise or any substantive concerns, then I would motion to bring it back 2 weeks from now. So that's my recommendation to the council. I will make that motion, and then obviously it's your choice on what to do with it.
Councilman James Solomon, you
Yeah.
say right? And when I do some research, most antenna is going to be used locally, they're located in the residential area. But when they use this antenna, they're located in the residential area, 5Z has a public health issue when I do some research. That the FCC, they say that they're unknown, that they're public health issue, but there are a lot of different non-profit and the health institute bring up this, they have some issue, and the public health issue and the mental issue, because 5Z have a different radiation frequency, has a different impact on human body. So I have a concern is that part of it. And second is that we give the 20 years, while we have to give 20 years, if the 20 years are regulated by the state, what are they called, the utility commission or what, we understand, but if it's not, why don't we give 10 years, try the 10 years, if any public issue is raised, then we can talk about that at least, 10 years later now. So 2 years, 20 years is too long, And well, if in worst case, maybe 10 years, renew to, option to renew to another 10 years. And also 750, now they have some dollars value, 750, but 5-10 years of 750 maybe value maybe $200. So 10 years later, we can look into that matters, can maybe raise a fee, if it's a 5G, have frequencies, not public health, not issue then, you know what I'm saying? Because I think that's the way should we do that. First thing, 20 to 10 years, if we can modify that. And the second, the way you said, the public input should be involved there.
Any question? What does the antenna look like? How big is it? Can we Google it?
Yeah, that is one. So there.
It's a picture of this is in Asbury Park. It's on my phone right now, but I'll email it to you guys. It looks like a nicer version of the what's this called? The scorpion. Cobra. Sorry, I get my snakes mixed up. Looks like a nicer version of a cobra head that you'll see around, the tall silver one with a little extra piece on top. But I'll email it to the group so you can see.
They are designed on a case-by-case basis. What we're asking the council to vote on is authorization to occupy your public right-of-way. We still have to receive approval from both the planner and the engineer. So this isn't giving us the authorization to go out and implement these immediately. There's still a planning process. Obviously, our preference would be for this to be voted on this week. As far as the public health concerns, I think we mentioned last time that the Federal Telecommunication Act prohibits municipality from making siting decisions based on perceived health effects because it is regulated by the FCC. And we also discussed Verizon and SQF originally approached the city looking for a 40-year term, and that's already been cut in half. Verizon is going to be spending millions of dollars on this deployment and really needs to have a guaranteed at least 20 years. Actually, 40 is our preference. We have some municipalities that have given us 40 years. So having 20 years is a very less than 20 years is a very, very short time for Verizon, and we certainly will be posting bonds, removal bonds, in case any of it becomes obsolete. And the fees are just the fees today. Any additional locations that come before the council will be an amendment to the agreement, and the city can discuss what their actual and reasonable costs are at that time.
So 10 years is too short.
It is. We've already been cut in half. We originally asked for 40. We've agreed to 20. That's really the minimum that Verizon can agree to, and still really attempt to make any money back on the investment that they're making in the city.
Last time we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do that. 20 is too short. But your company, the Verizon, what did they give back to community? If we put your antenna to own your own business, they're not putting the free hotspot here and there, try to give some back to community if you want 20 years.
So that's prohibited by the FCC ruling that just came out that will be effective on January 14th, 2019. It prohibits municipalities from asking for any quid pro quo. Correct. It becomes effective. It's been published. It becomes effective January 14th. Correct.
Council before going to planning?
In New Jersey, anyone seeking to use the right-of-way needs authorization from the governing body. So we would seek this as a condition precedent to going to planning. We've done this in about 279 municipalities in New Jersey, and we always approach the council first, get their authorization to just physically occupy the right-of-way, and then go through a building and planning engineering process at the administrative level. I'm sorry?
We're the only city without it. You said 279?
279. I think there are 565 municipalities in New Jersey, so we still got a few.
Okay. Thank you both.
Thank you.
John, sorry to keep you waiting. Pat, you're up. Pat, Marty, Steve. And Joe. You have a couple of items, Joe? Okay. All right. Tell us what your first one is, Pat.
I have 10Z3.
10Z3.
I have, after that, I have 10Z4, 10Z5, 10Z6, and 10Z7. First, 10Z3, it's a vehicle purchase, is for 2 Ford 350 pickup trucks under the state contract. Will be marked and assigned to the fire division, a hose shop which handles fire equipment and repairs. The 2 vehicles currently being used by the hose shop are both at least 15 years old and have serious mechanical issues.
Questions, folks? My question again, just when do we have anticipate a vehicle, I forget what you call it, vehicle replacement plan or something like that, or?
We're currently working on a vehicle replacement plan.
Yeah.
Just speaking to the BA, coming up with some of the numbers that we're coming up with are gonna be quite shockful. So we're trying to work it within, obviously, the means of the budget and get pretty much the biggest bang for our buck for the type of equipment that we're going to need.
Whatever the cost is, I guess I'd like to see the draft, if you have one. It's, because vehicles still need to be replaced, even if we don't have the money, right? So, it's a real cost.
Unfortunately, and we're not getting into real detail, our fleet is in some serious shape. I mean, on average, I'll just use our police fleet. Our marked units, we have approximately 180 marked units. Of that, half of them are 9.5 years and older, which, for the most part, we fix something today, it goes back on patrol, a day or two later, it's back in the garage for something else. So it's basically a Band-Aid effect. We're dealing with, trauma wounds, and we're trying to, put, Band-Aids on them. And it's across the board. It's not just the police. Our fire equipment is extremely old and dated. The average lifespan of a radio car is 3 to 5 years. And again, we're at 9, 10, and almost actually, I just put one out of service on Friday. That's a 2003 that had 212,000 miles on it. So, and even our DPW fleet, again, a lot of them are 1999s, 2000s, going out plowing snow. We've had significant amount of snowstorms since 1999. So, they might only have 80,000 miles on them, but those are 80,000 hard, service miles of, pushing, snow. So, we are working on it. We're doing a big purchase, which will be for the council with the next meeting for some police vehicles. Last meeting, you did approve 8 marked units. On tonight's agenda, we do have one for the emergency equipment, which these vehicles will be readily available within 3 to 5 weeks. So we could get them basically out on the road. So we're trying to basically, get everything together and move forward with it.
Okay. All right, your next item?
10Z4, City of Jersey City, acquired title to various motor units, which were impounded. These vehicles have salvage value. This is permitting us to auction off roughly 198 motor vehicles from the car pound.
Any questions on this?
Cars from, we used to lease cars from Enterprise, take cars from the pound. We don't do that anymore?
No, it's under coverage. So, we're going to start off, Councilman, with the Enterprise. So we did look into going with Enterprise for unmarked police cars. So on average, you get a Toyota Camry with 36,000 miles on it. It's 2016. It's a middle of the line model. Enterprise wants $18,000. We're able to purchase a brand new Toyota Camry base model with power windows, door locks, and air conditioning, which is basically all we need, for less than $1,000 more. So I'm getting a brand new car for $1,000 more with a 3-year, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty. So, I mean, cost effectiveness, it doesn't make sense. As far as going into the compound, yeah, we haven't done that in quite a while. And, you know, I haven't done it since I've taken over a little over a year ago. And again, my concern is if somebody's leaving their car in the compound, they're leaving it for a reason. Now, granted, we are getting it for free. However, if we have to put $5,000 into it to get it up and running, that's a $5,000 investment that, for something that can last us 6 months. Yeah, that's just a year, you don't know. Each car is different. More cars lay, hoses dry out, brake lines rust, you know, the alternator, you know, shorts out. I mean, there's a lot of different variables to cars when they sit and lay. I mean, so it's a catch-22. I mean, again, you're asking for headaches, in my opinion, by doing something like that.
I just want to add one thing. Tomorrow, I'm going to be sending everyone on the council a study that was conducted a few years ago, and it'll be self-explanatory. I think you'll find it very interesting where they have the cutoff on once a car hits a certain amount of mileage, does it really pay to go and put money back into the car? So you'll have that tomorrow in your offices.
See, just one item is item 195. The 2016 Nissan 4-door, $2,549.25. Any reason this one? The 2016, only 2 years old car.
Has no engine.
There was no engine?
Oh, no. It's probably been stripped and the shell is there. A lot of the cars that I've seen aren't really worth to put any money into it because you don't know what they've been used for and what happened to the cars. A lot of them are stolen cars. A lot of them have been repossessed, that people didn't maintain them. I mean, there's a lot more involved. I was under the impression a while ago when there was a Porsche up for sale that was coming into an auction scenario, and when I investigated the Porsche, it was just not worth it. It was sad. When you see a $70,000 car, $80,000 car, and the condition of the car, I think they used it for off-road purposes.
That number is based on the storage costs, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's not like a market value or blue book cost or whatever it calls it. Okay. Your next item, 10Z5, is a resolution authorizing an award of a contract to Emergency Accessories and Installation for the purchase and installation of emergency equipment for the Ford Interceptor vehicles under state contract for the Department of Police.
That's correct.
Okay, any questions on that? Hearing none. We got 10Z6. It's authorizing a change order increasing the amount of a contract with City Auto and Truck Parts LLC, doing business as Bayonne Auto Parts for the purchase and delivery of parts for heavy-duty vehicles under state contract for the Department of Public Works Division of Automotive Maintenance. Any questions on that? Yes.
Increase a lot. Do you have any reason?
Yeah, the repairs that we're encountering with a lot of these cars between transmissions and engines. In fact, I'm going to give our director of automotive an opportunity to speak on this because he's been doing a survey on the equipment and how we've been spending our money for a lot of these repairs. Marty?
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, the parts themselves, our staff, you know, we have is a very good staff, hardworking, but they're inundated. I mean, on a light-duty side, we have 5 mechanics to maintain over 800 cars. On a heavy-duty side, we have about 300 trucks, the street sweepers, forestry equipment, there's 7 mechanics. So, you know, when we buy these parts, especially on the big-ticket items, the trucks, I mean, you get a roll-off. A piston is $2,500, $3,000. So the parts are extremely expensive to replace, and obviously, the older the vehicles, the more issues there are. So you're expending a lot more money repairing these things on the operating side because of the years that they are.
Are the costs increasing for parts?
Yes. I'll give you an example. The newer model vehicles, I'll take it, we have a Nissan Altima that was actually given to us by the prosecutor's office. It was a repossession. Transmission went. Now, we got it, you know, as a confiscation rather, sent it out to our vendor to have a transmission in it, which we have a state contract for. The new transmissions, $6,700 to put a transmission in this car. So that explains a lot why some of these cars that you see on the car pound auction are staying in the pound, because some of these things aren't worth repairing. and it's easier for people to just leave them as is. The cost to, to repair and maintain these has been extravagant. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, the council president knows firsthand what we're dealing with some of the vehicles and the shape that they're in. And we really haven't done a mass purchase of equipment on the city side, on the small items, since 2004. And on the, on the heavy duty side, 99 was like the real major purchase.
Our last item is 10Z7, and this is provide transmission repairs to the city's fleet as needed. Contract awarded to 4 vendors. They're all Jersey City vendors. It's an open-end contract. DPW, had spent about $500,000 for this particular item, and we have a temporary encumbrancy right now of $80,000. The total contract amount is $1,210,214. This backs up to what I just got finished saying about transmissions, and I'll have Marty give you more details on that.
Again, $6,000 to put transmission in one vehicle. When you have over 800 vehicles, a lot of them, police cars, they use rough, so it's stop and go, jump out. I mean, it's not your average, car. You or I probably own cars 10, 15 years, never put the transmission in our car. These things, and they're running 24/7. So,
Spent $500,000 last year.
Yes.
That's
Which was last year's contract.
Last year's contract was the $500,000.
What's the $500,000?
Right, that's the contracted amount.
That's the maximum. It's the renewal from the one that was last year, so.
Yeah, how much
To
was
the
last
district.
year?
Up to that. That was the amount. each
1.2
year.
million last year?
Yeah, each
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And of that, they spent $500,000.
It's to cover us because naturally the vehicles are getting older. And one thing I want to correct, when you look at the entire city, our fleet, you're looking at with DPW with the heavy equipment, the off-road equipment, all the vehicles for the police and fire, for the city agencies, you're looking at 1,600 vehicles. And the fleet every year is getting older, which is going to require more and more repairs. And that's what kills us. I remember when I first came on board, we had a discussion in reference to that. But tomorrow, I'll make sure that you have this this research that was done, and I think you're going to find it very interesting.
Right.
Any questions?
Right.
On Z7? Anyone? Okay. We are ready to move on. Gentlemen.
Do you guys have the original?
I thought you had found it, I guess you didn't.
I don't have it. You're right.
What are we talking about?
There's another vehicle purchase that we've been looking for weeks. We need
Yeah,
a
this
digital.
was
Did we lose another vehicle? Come on.
No, we lost the purchase.
It was another vehicle, it was the rental
No, we're
for the
improving. We
vehicles.
have the vehicle. No, we don't have the vehicle. We know what the vehicle is, but we need a purchase agreement in place for it. It was for a vehicle for Ford.
Supposed to be on 2 meetings ago.
Right.
Correct.
It was signed 10-2 by the purchasing
You
agent.
guys figure that out, and then
Yeah.
bring it in if you need to, okay?
It's for the Ford F-350, right, Marty?
Yes.
Okay.
Council President, council
Thank you.
members, thank you very much.
That's a salt spreader and snowplow, right?
Okay.
Okay,
Salt spreader and plow.
right, that's what I said.
Councilwoman?
Just wanted, just so no one asks on Wednesday night, when you're not, if you're not here.
We are moving to 3D, right? Three D is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 69, Special Improvement Districts, implementing Article 7, West Side Avenue Special Improvement District of the Jersey City Municipal Code. Okay. Folks, let's give the councilwoman your attention.
All right, so good evening, everyone. I'm here presenting
Ordinance 3D for the creation of the West Side Avenue Special Improvement District. I just want to introduce members of the steering committee and so Chris Bernardo, who's been working in advisory capacity. So we have Charlene Burke, West Side Community Alliance, Simon Yang, who's a business owner. His family owns a couple of businesses along the entirety of the corridor on both the northern and southern end. And then Patrick Hembrecht, who is a local realtor and resident of the ward. So this is a number of years in the making. Back in 2013, a feasibility study was done to see whether or not improvements could be proposed for West Side Avenue Commercial Corridor, and they had some key findings to create a district that serves local area residents, employees, and student populations, and can appeal to the special regional populations with especially ethnic stores, restaurants, and events. The strategic recommendations, the first one was to form a special improvement district. And this would help us address safety concerns and security concerns with regard to lighting, trash and trash removal, graffiti, aggressive panhandling, and homelessness. The need for improved maintenance and repair along the entirety of the commercial corridor and capital projects, to retain existing businesses through cooperative marketing, sharing of customer information, and sales events. Wayfinding and identification of retail clusters, so you have the northern and southern ends of West Side Avenue and the area in the park, which is used for event spaces. Since this is done, we have put some things in place like the farmers market. WISCA does a chili cook-off and holiday craft fair, and there's a summer music series. So we've been activating the space, and just trying to tie the retail components into it would be the next step for that. We want to incorporate the student audience. We have two universities, St. Peter's and NJCU, both of which do not really directly engage with our retail and commercial corridors. So we think that that's a great opportunity to engage with them, and also use them with help on doing surveys and studies around marketing and proposed improvements in the area as well. It's a natural fit. And to capitalize on existing destination businesses, we have, mainstays like Elio's, Bakery, Ercolano's, Park Tavern, Dairy Queen, newer businesses like Halftime Bar and Grill, and Rowena's, which is a great Filipino restaurant, and better use of public space, which includes the park and ways that we can create public space along the commercial corridor. To grow foot traffic and to prepare for new development, we have the Bayfront project coming up, we have the Pacini site coming up, we have the 400 Claremont project and Water Street project all coming on within the next couple of years and around the ward. So this way the retail and business community can help engage with them. So the proposed boundaries go along West Side Avenue on the north from Broadway all the way down to Stegman on the southern end of it, and that will incorporate some of the new NJCU West Campus expansion, some of the retail there, and then going along Communipaw Avenue from the boulevard down to 440. And what this area does is it allows us to have a budget that will be effective, but not be prohibitively expensive to some of the businesses. So we're looking at about $18 per linear square footage for about 13,000 and change linear square feet. All of that is in the spreadsheet that's attached to the ordinance. And Chris, do you have anything to add?
Sure, yeah. Good evening, everybody. I think the goal here is to establish a special improvement district that can come out of the gate and focus on very fundamental issues in and around the district. Cleaning, capital improvements such as new trash cans, planters, really building up the physical environment in the district to support the businesses. As Mira said, it's a low-risk, high-reward scenario. The $18 per linear foot is very reasonable. It puts it among the lower, probably the lower two in the city, and statewide is probably in the low to moderate range in terms of budgets. So there's a lot of upside benefit to doing this. The first year, the goal is to focus on boots on the ground, as little management as we need, so that we can focus on actually investing in the district. High accountability. This will be a member corporation. We will notify the stakeholders every year for our annual meeting. You will know when board members are up for vote. You will know when the budget is. Our stakeholders will know when the budget is. So it'll be a very transparent, very accountable district.
And we held 2 public meetings in advance of this. We've actually been working, like, this is about 5-6 years in the making, long-term, with a number of different people involved. Earlier this year, I started working with Patrick, and then we brought in Charlene and some of the, and the businesses the whole time, doing mailings and meetings to create the steering committee in advance of the interim board, which will go in place for year 1. And the 2 public meetings were held on October 18th and 22nd. One in the morning, one in the evening, and letters were mailed out to all property owners. In addition to that, we notified business owners, and I've been fielding phone calls about the district just in general to make sure that everyone is up to speed and understanding the goals and objectives for the special improvement district.
Councilors, questions?
So how many miles is it?
About 2.25.
20 quarter miles? 20 quarter miles. And the west side avenue SID will provide like a street maintenance, street cleaning too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to point out, especially at this early juncture, that services are meant to strengthen and to assist the city. They're meant to be supplemental.
Right, so we would have a 7-day-a-week cleaning team that would work in tandem with the NID crew that is already servicing West Side Avenue. So this would be an additional service on top of that.
And similar to what we do in Journal Square, trash cans will be emptied by the Special Improvement District crew in coordination with the City of Jersey City. If they wish to split up certain areas with us, we'll do that. In Journal Square, we pick up all the bags, but we have a great relationship with DPW.
And, just experience, because that I love that SID, that's the way they should go. But my personal experience, if we 2.5 miles you maintain, you know that, and the budget $238,000 after payrolls, rent, so actual dollars for program, you're going to be tough time. You know that, right?
Actually, based on what we've got scheduled out here, what we're discussing in the first year, we're looking at a maintenance program somewhere around $90,000 to $100,000, and a management program which would include your normal governance, monthly meetings, handling all of the organization's filings, all of its responsibilities as a corporation, around $25,000 in the first year. We're purposely keeping the management very low so that we can have that extra $50,000 to $75,000 to invest in capital improvements.
See, if we try to clean the holiday light for the 2.5 miles, you know how much cost you expect?
Well, at this point, the current inventory of poles, only about 50% of the poles are actually ready to receive holiday lights. I would say about 55 poles actually have electricity. Moving forward, if we wanted to do anything beyond that, that would be a much larger conversation between the city and PSE&G to figure out how we would fund electricity for those remaining poles.
So years ago, cleaning the outlet and the pole, like $200 was PSE&G. Now I think they charge almost $1,000 each hour.
I believe it's about $600.
$600 now?
Yeah.
$600. I can tell you now, it's great, but you guys don't happy with $18, first, because you're going to be faced to increase sooner or later.
Well, our hope is to...
I hope not, you know what I'm saying.
But our hope is to establish a really strong foundation early on and to earn the stakeholders' trust and provide them with high value. We're operating on the principle that if we demonstrate value in years 1, 2, and 3, that ultimately the stakeholders will see the value of the SID, and raising the assessment over time will become easier.
But not only that, this city of Jersey should pay retentions, provide a supporting program SID, because if the city, all those services actually, you guys subsidize certain programs instead the city provide, you guys do that by extra tax. City should have some kind of partnership with SID. As I say, if the city gives us $100,000 a year to financially support each SID, or need base, probably West Side Central Avenue, Bergen, the McKinney Square, and the Jackson. If those kind of 4 or 5, aside, if the city provide like $100,000 to financial support, make great. You know, except I can say the exchange place don't need it. They have $3 million.
Well, when you started your city, way back in the day, it was a 4-to-1 city manager.
Yes, because we're able to do that, because the UEG grant is available. But now UEG grant is not available for the, you know,
That's
towards
fine.
the SID. So if we state cannot provide grant, then city should be kicked in too. You know, it's not that much, $100,000 for 5 SID, $500,000. That helped the thousands small business in Jersey City.
Councilman, I am pleased to report that just recently we established a new partnership with the city where we're going to meet with various departments on a quarterly basis and begin to identify ways that we can strengthen our partnership. That will include in-kind services from the city on various things, and potentially if money does become available, maybe there can be some more financial buy-in. But at this point, you know, we'd be happy with just some in-kind services. And in Journal Square, we actually we have a great relationship with DPW and with the forestry department. They supply us with dirt, mulch, various things that we need for our plantings and stuff. So it's a good start. Chris Bernardo.
Chris Bernard, nice to meet you, Chris.
It's
Spoken.
good to move the right direction, actually. I'm so glad now. You know, West Side is already behind, you know, compared to other SID, but they move first, and you have some experience. Lots of luck, okay? Good luck.
You're just helping them set up, right?
Yeah.
You're not leaving the journey.
No.
Not yet. No, I'm just kidding. No, but the idea though too is, right.
And he does a good job.
No, he's been great, and the plan to, like I said, is the first year, create the budget and bring the immediate, boots on the ground, as Chris says, with cleaning, things that are measurable and noticeable, and that people are looking for and asking for within the district, and then build the board stability that first year as well. And then year over year, we'll be making the gradual improvements with regard to marketing and wayfinding and the beautification.
Who's gonna run it? What's that?
Who's gonna
run the,
At this point, we're going with what could best be described as an outsourced management model. I'm going to consult in the initial year and provide them with very low-cost alternatives so that we can actually demonstrate that value in the district. As Michael points out, the budget's tight, and we want to make sure that we're dedicating as much of the resources to the district.
We have almost 6 council members of the world, almost 5 council members at SID. Then they should be putting next year budget at least $500,000, you know, instead to, really, I'm not kidding, this is true. The city of Jersey is willing to spend $1 million to improve the pedestrian plaza in downtown, but they're not even spend a penny for other outside the city of Jersey. It makes me very piss me off. So what they have to do, Jackson, Central, McKinney, and the West Side, those at least 4 or 5 side desperately need financial support, not the financial partnership City of Jersey City. If the City of Jersey is able to spend $1 million, close the pedestrian plaza to invest $1 up there, why they don't have $500,000 support the thousands of small business community in Jersey City? So I want to make sure that, Brian, next year budget 2019, I'm going to put you one item. They should have $500,000 supporting business, small business support, SID supporting program you should have located. I'm going to wait for that.
I want to get back to this.
Yeah, that's another discussion, but I have updates on that, so. Yeah, we've talked about it, yeah.
So I have a few questions. Just who else is on the steering committee? Nira?
Who else is on the steering
Yeah.
committee? We have, the gentleman, from American Pharmacy. We have, David from Garfield Furniture. Yeah, I can get you the list, yep.
We had 2 meetings, you said, right?
Yeah, well, we've been meeting, we've been meeting over the summer, and Patrick has done mailings to the businesses in the area. They've been fairly well attended. And then we did the 2 public meetings that are required, to discuss and present the information, about the special improvement district. And that, the Filipino Chamber of Commerce also attended one of those 2 meetings.
Can you, do you have like a attendance list for those meetings?
Yeah.
I get that. Just want to see who's,
You still have that, right, Patrick? Yep, okay.
and then just a question.
On board?
What percentage? We've done outreach to almost all of the businesses, and we have at least 50%. Yep, that have come to us. No, we've not had the pushback. So, some people, you get them at the right time, or the right property owner at the right time, and like they're neutral about it. So, that's why I'm not considering them in that percentage.
Just a question for you and the committee, I guess, whoever wants to answer, I guess. In terms of the boundaries, how did you decide you go as far south and as far north, and then kind of east and west on Communipaw?
Some of this was born out of the feasibility study, and the original plan when this was first discussed about 5 years ago, there was a conversation to go from Broadway all the way down to Danforth, and we felt that that was too long. There were too many retail clusters along that. We thought, though, that incorporating Communipaw would also be a nice way, because Communipaw at 440 is the entrance and gateway into the city, but also into the west side of the city.
Good luck.
Okay.
Yeah, what I say.
Yeah, no, we talked about it. Yeah.
I had to share some bad news with the councilwoman. This has to be advertised at least 10 days before the public hearing, and all of the people on that list that you see has to get a copy of the ordinance, so it won't be on for a second reading on November 20. It'll be on our December meeting for final adoption.
City clerk have a lot of work. Raise the mails, you have to do that, a lot of work.
And I lose tomorrow for election day, even though I'll be here.
Okay.
Before we, does anybody else want to get anything on the record? No? Okay.
No, it's gonna be adopted in December, at the December meeting.
December.
We're moving the meeting up a day, remember, and we have 2 legal holidays between that. It's just physically impossible to get mailings advertised 10 days before and get the mailings out to them 10 days before.
And you have to send the certified mail, right?
That's correct.
It's a lot of work. We just say good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming in. Thank you for your work on this. Yeah. Is there a lot of folks? No, Joe still got, can we get Joe, take care of Joe?
So Nick and I have to leave in a few minutes, so, yeah. If you want to start payroll tax, and we can walk.
Who's gonna fill in for you?
John's gonna take my spot.
Joe, how much do you have?
I have 3 quick ones and 1 addition that didn't make it onto it. Yeah.
I don't know where that went.
You sure they're quick ones?
Last week, I don't know where it is.
It's in the queue somewhere.
Yeah.
How soon do you, what's your,
We have to leave in about 15 minutes, max. Yeah.
okay, then payroll tax it is. Okay, folks. Let's,
About 3F, an ordinance repealing and replacing Article 4, Chapter 304, taxation of the municipal code, imposing a tax on employers' payroll on non-Jersey City residents for the benefit, of the Jersey City Public Schools.
just FYI, it says 4F on the document.
3E?
It's 3F.
3F?
Yeah, it's
4F on the actual.
It literally says 4F on the document, but it should be 3F.
Oh, okay. We'll fix that.
Yeah.
Fix the original.
There's a new one distributed to everyone as part of the package you received at the beginning tonight. There's some basic changes. There's a change cover sheet. One, there was a missing end to a sentence, which we corrected. There was a redundant section, which we deleted. And the last part, the figures going back to the Newark ordinance would change some. So we modified those numbers. Those numbers just changed that 3rd paragraph. And the last portion, the charitable organization definition, we parroted right from the state statute. Newark did it a little bit differently, but we noticed that we wanted to make sure it was in line with exactly what the state statute says. So those are the four changes included as part of the replacement cover sheet tonight.
It was handed out.
It was handed out already.
Robert gave it out.
I just make sure everybody was aware. I'm happy to answer any questions specific about that or anything else.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the business administrator, if you want to say anything about this, or whoever wants to talk about it. On your...
I can go first a little bit if you'd like, Brian.
Okay, sure.
Kind of go into the legal structure of this. Going back to what I said a couple weeks back when Tilson and Verizon were here, the city of Jersey City, as all municipalities in New Jersey, only have the power to tax that which is authorized by the state legislature. So in this particular case, the state legislature has authorized the city of Jersey City, based upon the population figures in the statute, and it's really geared specifically for Jersey City, to institute a payroll tax for employers in Jersey City up to 1% of the payroll. Any monies that are collected are, one, collected by the city at the expense of the city and put into a trust fund, which would be transferred in its entirety to the Board of Education. So it is also not required. It is a may. The state legislature has given the city council, the city of Jersey City, the authority to do this. Okay. The two exceptions that are carved out in the state statute are the city council could exempt are Jersey City residents and charitable organizations. And those are also mays. So it is not the option of the city to exempt those two groups as it sees fit. So that's the statutory framework of what we receive from the state to be allowed to do this. The ordinance which drafted is partially based upon the direct language in the statute we received from the state, as well as what Newark had done, because they had been given this authorization several years back as well. So that's how we arrived where we've arrived in the document that you see before you. In terms of the dollars and cents of it, I think Mr. Platt, Mr. Metro could probably weigh in a little more on that. But I'm just giving you the kind of legal framework of how we arrived here and how we have the opportunity to do this, should the City Council and the City of Jersey City choose.
Mega Millions and the Powerball, all this money. You know what happened to it? They created all these jobs for their political friends and all the money's gone. This is BS. They should do a forensic audit on the Board of Education, and you're going to drive more businesses out of this city and stop a lot of business from coming in.
So then,
let's, Brian, do you guys want to say anything before?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about how we're going to collect this. The only analogy we have for this sort of thing is Newark in the state of New Jersey, and they have essentially an optional opt-in where they have to go around and manually ask every single business to apply and register for paying this. So it's a long and arduous process, and if it is enacted as it stands with no additional structures in place at the state level for collecting this, we're going to have to take on this responsibility. So the city, we would have to, in my department, we'd hire, Newark has 3 people in an office of special assessments, and they collect it that way. So we would probably end up hiring a couple of people, we're not sure yet. They would be responsible for creating a registry, registering businesses, and ensuring compliance with payment.
Are you enforcing that with the parking lots? The rental where the cars?
Yes,
Come on. This is just what I said. You're going to end up hiring people, and they're going to be political hacks, and the money's going to go out. It's not going to get to the Board of Ed.
So there's another piece of this that we are working towards. If this is approved, and the mayor has said this publicly, we're going to try and petition the state to create a framework that automatically collects this tax without having to do any extra work on our part, without having to register any business, both for the benefit of Newark and Jersey City, because both of us are affected by this. So Newark, it took quite a few years to get a considerable amount of money from their tax, because they had to literally go around business to business and ask them to pay this.
Okay, do you want to open it up?
Yeah, that's fine. Everyone,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
Councilman Yun, and then we're going to go around, so like everybody has an opportunity to share their thoughts.
and page 2, E, any insurance company formed by authority of another state of foreign country subject to provision NJSA, so there is the exemption. Why insurance company is the only one?
Councilman, that language is parroted directly from the state statute.
By state statute.
I took that language you see under employer from A through F. That language comes directly from the state statute under their definition of employer. So exactly, that came verbatim.
When I spoke with that NUA, the major problem is that the collection is a problem because they have only 3 people working there, right?
Yeah.
So auditing
They
has
have more than one assessment they can Yeah.
newer, they might not pay full employer tax to actually, because of the manpower, very hard to go, look at the books and so on and so. So when I see the total program, when I estimate it, order to collect, first thing to be very clear. If we collect a full, city of Jersey expects around the $90 to $100 million, $99 million. And after that, we give some exemption from the Jersey employee, then around the net collect $70, $80 million, $70 to $80 million. It's a big chunk of money. Probably this is the, whoever take over, your department, any division take over this kind of money, probably the largest revenue bring up the city of Jersey, collect dollars. So operate that kind of a 70, 80 million collection probably needs a minimum 5 people who has a knowledge for the finance. Easy.
Sure.
So now problem is that we as a city of Jersey pay that employee 5, 6 people, 10 people. We hand the money to city of Jersey, the Board of Ed. So somehow we have to speak with the Board of Ed. We should get some reimbursed that costs of the administration city of Jersey City. That kind of things have to be addressed somewhere.
Yeah.
With the Board of Ed, But
Yeah.
it's not that much, probably a couple of $1 million probably.
So I will say that we've been working with the Board of Ed to try and help them with this issue, with this funding issue for quite some time, since before I even came here as business administrator. And I will say also that we're all on the same team with this. So, we're not trying to nickel and dime each other. There's a funding gap that affects all Jersey City residents, and we're trying to be good partners with this. So we've already done some things and working on some other things. We've saved, it's several $1 million that we're saving the school board each year from shared services, from combining some things. And so this is another way that we're going to help share some of that burden, and we'll assume some of these costs. So we would love to not hire lots of people. We would love to hire as few as possible so the cost is lower on our end.
On the page 4, 304-19.1, trust fund the distribution of the payroll tax proceed, and the F. So one of the items is that we collect the money. If the money is not enough to what the Board of Ed need, it's a monthly wise, then City of Jersey have to fill the gap. Correct? Do I understand right? Yes. F.
304-19.1.
Yes. So in the event that, and so on and so on, and the C, this section, the city business division shall pay the remaining balance to the trust fund over the treasury of the school monies of the school district connects with the municipality or of which the municipality comprise the part of their money. So in other words, we collect the employer tax, so let's say collect we $10 million, and the school need $20 million, so $10 million short. Then the $10 million City of Jersey have to be put in our city tax dollars.
Cal, that's not the way I read it.
Can't you explain to that one?
Sure.
Yeah. Yes, make sure that, okay?
It says the city business administrator shall pay the remaining balance of the trust fund. So if you're short, whatever's in the trust fund gets transferred. It's not a matter of making up the balance with city funds moving.
You also hold,
Right.
allows you to hold anything that's left over to make up for.
Correct.
Any short that you have, if you look at the section prior to that.
Okay, so if we just short, what about collecting short, then how are we going to do that then?
You just pay it.
Just to pay whatever we
Pay the
collect.
balance.
So we have no obligation to then fill the difference, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
I just want to make sure for that, okay?
I honestly had the same concern when I first read that, but if you actually drill down on it.
Okay.
It shall pay the remaining balance.
Balance,
It's
okay.
spelled from the trust fund.
So
if
we
it's-
have no responsible for
So it
that.
goes down, so if you're short, it is, you pay it out so it goes down to zero. And then it replenishes and you deal with it on the next replenishment.
Is that from the state statute? Section?
I believe it is.
It is.
Council, I wanna, if we can let maybe a couple of the other council members, we'll come back to you. Okay? Who's next? Anyone else? Council Robinson.
So what happens if we collect more money than the school needs? We hold the rest of it?
It stays in the trust fund. So
That's the,
every dollar, exactly, every dollar that is collected via this payroll tax must go into the trust fund, which will then, at some point, either through wherever the scheduled payments are, or if, like Councilman Yoon mentioned, if we're short, it goes down, the balance goes down to zero, but every dollar, at some point, will be transferred to the Board of Education.
and how are we collecting the funds?
So as I described before, the way Newark does it is they set up a separate collection process for this. We will likely mirror that, where we are going and registering businesses and having them pay this assessment separately. However, we're going to petition the state to create some kind of automated process that pulls it right through payroll, should this go forward. Yeah.
And the state, how long is this gonna take to get everybody on board?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say how long it's going to take us, but in Newark, it took several years to get to a critical mass of funds where they were collecting enough money for it to make a big difference. But hopefully, we will, in parallel, move forward with talking to the state about this. So, yeah. Oh, that's not right. Should we talk about that too?
But there is, and just as a heads up, there is, under 304-23 of the ordinance, section 304-23, the effective date and sunset provision. The effective date is January 1st, 2019, and the ordinance shall remain in effect only until December 31st, 2020, unless an extension or reauthorization is approved by the municipal council. It's 2 years. And it's 2 years unless this council, should this be approved, the only way it gets renewed, you come back before the council and ask for renewal.
I'll speak to that. I guess that was my bright idea at one time. Let's, on the sunset provision?
No.
We can finish your topic.
You sure you wanna go?
No, it's okay.
No, I really want to just, make sure that we're not giving the school board a blank check because somehow the funding has slipped through the cracks over the years. The forensic audit needs to be done. I think they should do one of these before this money even comes into, into their hands to see where and how the money is being spent. And I'm just afraid we're gonna give the school board a blank check to say, let's just keep spending unwisely. Let's keep doing what we've been doing for the last 10 years, because somehow, some way, I know there's some kind of money that has been spent wrongly.
There may be, but the statute that enables us to pass this ordinance is very specific that the money is to be turned over to the school, to be used by the school pursuant to their laws. It even goes, it specifies schools and it also includes charters. And it says it will be used by the schools, basically how they are empowered to do so. We don't have any say pursuant to the enabling statute to say in the ordinance, well, we're going to give you this money, but you have to give us an account. They have their own obligations and their own laws to use the funding as quote-unquote state aid. And they have their controlling statutes and their regulations. We can't say we're gonna put attach strings to this, because we're not allowed to do so. The statute's very specific.
Wow. So all that to say, it would go into their general operating fund, but it would not necessarily be explained to us if it was parceled out for facilities.
Sort of like how the assessment for the schools is collected now, which is the property tax of the school. So they are not held accountable to us per se for us collecting that tax and then remitting it to them.
There's a practicality that we want to know, as in that there's not any uses, but I think the state statute starts out like you would normally pay your money over, knowing that the school, or believing that the school's gonna use it properly and to the best of their ability. I know it sounds idealistic.
Make them do a forensic audit, or ship the city before we start to hand over this money.
I mean, how long do you anticipate it for it to be up and running before you can tell the schools, here, this is yours?
As far as when we start collecting the funds?
Time.
Yeah, it's a great question. Hopefully, as soon as possible, we're going to have to hire people and we're going to have to set up a process. I don't anticipate the process taking too long. We're also, as I mentioned, in parallel, going to speak with the state about an automated collection, but
I mean, that's understanding, because we
yeah.
the district is gonna be losing money in the next couple of months.
Right.
So it's important to know how long would that structure be up and running before you can say to the schools, this is for you.
Sure. No, that's a good question.
Is there an answer? I'm sorry, to his question.
I don't have a specific time frame. No.
I had stepped out of them earlier, but I know that there was some discussion about an exemption for businesses with 15 employees or under. I know we've talked about this anecdotally, but just to get it on the record, can you just talk us through why that's not in this?
Yeah, and I mentioned that at the beginning when
Okay.
Councilwoman
Okay,
stepped out.
okay.
The two mays of things that the city can exclude if it chooses to enact the payroll tax, one is for city residents, and the other is for charitable organizations. So it was may do this, and was silent as to the remainder, but the way, basic statutory construction, kind of going back to law school, if they intended to allow more exclusions, it would have been put in, or to say, and other exclusions as the city may deem appropriate. But they chose to leave it at those two, meaning they intended it to be exclusively those two.
To the extent that they define charitable institutions, that you have to be exclusively for, it's in the statute. It's used exclusively for hospital, charitable, and I believe school purposes.
What about the exemption of like a business based on the number of employees?
No, this is.
Just the two
yeah.
exemptions.
Didn't we talk about this at the agenda meeting?
Yeah.
You said it was possible, you told me then.
No,
it's
we were
not.
looking into it. We spent most of the end
You
of
did
last
say
week.
that at the agenda meeting.
No, I honestly thought it was possible, but when I looked at it, I actually delved into the statute. It is not.
Two exceptions.
Two exceptions.
No, so.
That's why it should just be on record as to why, because there have been previous conversations about that, some very small business exemption and some of the concerns that have been raised around
Where
that.
does the $25 quarterly threshold come from?
That's in the state statute.
That's in.
It's the state statute, the definition of employer.
Oh, employer, great.
So no, then,
Hold on, councilpersons, down this side.
Just wanted the sunset version.
So, yes, that was my right idea. And the rationale behind it was in having conversations internally with the administration and other stakeholders. There was disagreement as to like how to move forward with this. What was the gap that needed to be needed to be filled? What was the percentage and so forth? 1%, full 1%. All the different variables were on the table and trying to figure that out and saying, and then you and I had the conversation about the idea that it's a very real possibility that that those who may be opposed to it may in fact try to do something similar in terms of trying to rescind the ordinance, right? So as to avoid that sort of obstacle, barrier to trying to get something done to actually put dollars into the school budget, it was suggested that I suggested at the time that why don't we put a sunset provision, sit down and, because time was of the essence, and sit down and figure out over that period, if we can come to some agreement as to what it would, what the terms of a payroll tax might look like, or other alternative options might look like as well, other sources of funding. With the idea that everyone who's a stakeholder, the administration, the council, state legislators, school, businesses, community, that we're all at the table, kind of sitting down together over the next year, and with the understanding that we would do that and not inhibit kind of whatever was proposed. If we passed it with a sunset provision, that we would all say, agreed, we'll do this with the sunset provision, as long as we all sit openly and have come to agreement as to what we would want to see, how we would come to terms with fulfilling that gap at some point. We don't have agreement, and so, we don't have agreement that we would come together and sit down, or that people would like lay down arms. The idea was to have like a lay down your arms, let's just all come out to kumbaya moment and say, we're in this together, we're gonna try to find a reasonable solution that works for all of us, and that wasn't achieved. So the idea that a sunset provision, doing a sunset, and you and I talked about it, the idea that if there's still going to be a lawsuit, if there's still going to be efforts to rescind the ordinance, then kind of a sunset provision. Not sure exactly if that makes sense at that point, but that was the intention there.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Unless there is that sort of mutual agreement from all stakeholders, I don't think it makes sense. That's my personal view.
Yeah.
Just because it's important.
I thought it was
understood, and I think it's important to get this. Can I ask a quick question for Norma? My understanding is there was some language in the state statute around charter schools. I don't 100% understand exactly what it authorizes, and then I'm wondering, do we have to put anything in our statute to mirror the state statute languages?
The subsection that provides, the state statute says, and it is, I believe, in our ordinance, that that the money shall be deposited into a trust fund to be used exclusively for school purposes, inclusive of charter schools. So charter schools were anticipated by the state statute, and it's in there. And then the trust fund money has to be used, I believe that's also in there, by the school board as though it were state aid. And that's where it comes in, that we can't tell them how to use it, but I believe when the state says, and our ordinance says in the state statute as state aid, the school board has a process and a procedure to follow that. They provided for charter schools, which I thought was a good thing, because many times I think charter schools sort of get forgotten or not accounted for. But there's also been a lot of, I think, recent statutes, state statutes, that also mandate that charter schools be funded equally.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a sense of, if I understand correctly, the penalty for non-payment is basically to pay with interest.
There's a whole penalty provision.
Right, the provision, let me find it again.
So page 7D.
7D?
Yeah, penalty and interest.
Penalty of interest, well, it's actually, it's page 8.
Yep.
Because there's actual suits for collections of violations, fine, interest, and penalties.
Yes.
Right.
And all the numbers are there. D provides of any reason the payroll tax is not paid. When due, there is an interest, and then the interest rate is the 8 and the 18%. In the original version, this is corrected. We use the numbers for Newark. Newark's numbers are different, or they haven't bothered to change them, but our enabling statute gives us specifically those numbers, so we changed it so it reflected the right numbers.
Administration versus tax collector? What's the sort of thinking there from the administration's perspective?
I think
Tax
that's
collector's under administration.
Okay. So director of, I may not fully understand this, but so director of finance. I thought tax collector was.
We have no director of finance.
It would default to the chief financial officer.
It defaults to the chief financial
So
officer.
the state
And
recognizes the chief financial officer as the city treasurer. The city structure is a little different, that we have a person under the title of treasurer.
Right.
But the state recognizes the chief financial officer. Because they have a statutory obligation to the state.
Okay.
And it does provide, I'm sorry, in the audit section, it does provide, if you look at 3, it says that the taxpayer, or the taxpayer fails to, but the director, I think, as said, has the authority to have the tax department involved. But the statute really talks about having a director, I think a centralized person that becomes responsible for this specific tax.
And page 7 and V, the top, actually 34-190 1944. D, the recovery unpaid tax. This is, I think, a major problem.
I'm sorry.
It's a B. Okay, the page 6, all the way bottom, 304-19.4.
Were you on the new or the old one?
Old one? I don't know.
I think the old one, he's on the old one.
Revised?
I think this is the old one.
Page 6.
Oh, God. This is from... Not the ordinance, the certificate tax collection. Oh, I have different version.
No, it's the same version, but the pages are different.
So now B.
Okay, B.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Next one. So now, if somebody not pay the tax, then to recover the money, we have to sue somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the problem. In order to collect the money, we have to sue the corporation or a small mom and pop store, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then we have to really go hire a special lawyer for tax law, to sue the company.
I don't know if we have to hire a special lawyer or if our own department
So
can
now
do
how-
it. It's
how?
the collection of a tax. It's really what we call a paper case. I don't know how that would play out. I'm sure that North does it, and/or any other municipalities that do it, but what other way would there be? They have to provide for the collection. If there's no teeth, then you can't collect the tax, just like any other tax.
The unpaid tax, actually, unpaid tax, in order to get the collect the tax, you have to go court.
Well, the person doesn't pay, just like if the person doesn't pay any tax, an individual, a corporation, you have to collect it somehow.
John, he didn't pay $500 or $1,000 a year, so we gotta file a suit against him.
Like council, just like Walt said, legal said, if you don't pay your income tax, regardless of what your income is, the IRS will still investigate. We'll do the same thing on a municipal level. Well, we could potentially do it in-house.
At the end of the day, we have to get judgment from the court.
When I have a tax, you have to have a way to implement it, you have to have a way to collect it.
It has to be enforceable.
You have to have a way to enforce
We
it.
only have one inspect, artificial cost of the fortune. So somehow the board will actually pay those dollars. They have to pay. Why we have to pay?
Because the statute doesn't.
The statute doesn't allow it, nor does it allow the administrative costs.
The statute is.
So when I spoke with the state senator, William Cunningham, we had a meeting, I brought the issue. Sandra Cunningham. She's actually, she's understands the part of it, and she seems to never thought about that issue. So probably we have to be some amended state statutes, but those gonna be, so city have power to order to collect, we need the manpower, you know what I'm saying? So we can take a certain percentage of that, cost and admissions to the city of Jersey.
In order to enact that, it has to come from the state level.
If you have to some amend the state statutes, And also, unpaid shall be filed within 3 years after return was due on the file. I think 3 years are too short too. That's the state statute too.
Which one are you looking at, Councilman?
Okay, limitation.
What page?
Page, I have different page. Page
It's
8.
limitations,
Yeah.
it's under, well, it's page 8,
Page 8.
C.
Yeah. So that when a return has been filed, but no tax paid, and is suit brought to the recovered tax due, unpaid shall within the 3 years after the return was due on the file. So 3 years actually is too short, huh? Don't you think so?
I understand.
So in other words, when we
When the
sue,
return has been filed.
Yeah.
And no tax paid, any suit brought to recover the tax due
Mhm.
and unpaid shall be filed within 3 years after the return was due or filed. It gives us 3
but 3
years.
years is not long enough to still just take action.
Well, the state thought that 3 years was sufficient
what
to
the state
take
statute?
action. Yeah, that's from the state statute, yes. The tax statutes are pretty specific, because the state the state really mandates and controls taxing. So when they give you the ability to tax, they usually give you, the ability very specifically. They don't let municipalities do
So
as they
city
will.
of Jersey did not claim the unpaid tax in 3 years.
Well, you should know, right? pretty, if you know that the tax has been filed already and the money hasn't been paid,
So
you should know that within a year or two.
The reason is that a lot of business employees in the citywide, most people not staying more than 3 years in the job. You know, and especially small business, if we're able to stay in 30 years of current economic situation, they are lucky. Most open business, you know, they close the door before even 3 years. And even a lot of corporations hire the people, except for certain, a lot of people stay in the job 2 or 3 years and they're gone someplace else. So hard to keep track down. Because this is going to be a dilemma we're going to
Okay,
face.
so we understand. There's a different challenge with collections. Councilman Rivera.
So this message for the road department. So if they fail to pay the penalty, right? And well, if the tax, will those penalties go into the fund to, you know, those taxes? If they get penalized, would they go into the trust fund?
All the money's collected and going to the trust fund. The city doesn't keep any money.
Administration, legal litigation costs, and we cannot even do some sharing. Even though first year we expect if everybody pay $70–80 million in revenue for the trust fund for the school, but meantime, City of Jersey put in the head probably $4–5 million each upfront, financially.
So the time frame is important to have. That time frame is important to have, so that we can know when we can go from point A to point B in transition of money. That's because we're going to be in a hole real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So the DA's adamant that getting supplemental as soon as it's passed, if it's passed. And then in addition to that, that's the whole theory of the trust fund, in which as the schools lose funding on a state level, any dollars that are collected that exceeds that amount will go into the trust fund for future use.
Yes,
So can I suggest it? Seems like I see that there are a lot of different ordinances, but this is the most incomplete ordinance I've ever seen. I mean, something, our hand is very tight, we only can do so much. In the meantime, as I say, that the city of Newark is a major problem, collection is a major problem. We have to understand that the city of Jersey taxpayer have to cover around $170 million over the 7 years, around $25 million every year. So if we not go employer tax, that $25 million have to go to the regular taxpayer small homeowners. Because a lot of place, what they pay in a tax revenue, they don't have to worry about nothing. Because they pay scheduled payment, they don't, but most homeowners, small homeowners get hit very hard. On the other hand, we see we're going to have an employer tax, but they have a correction problem and the time, as a councilman down in Libera say, we don't know when it's going to be rolled out. There's a lot of problem there. Do we have any other option? Because employer tax is not will be not will be cover all the expenses in the future with auto van. We have a couple of alternate plans we have, probably employer tax, also maybe we have commercial occupational tax, also Councilman Richard Bojan mentioned the parking lot tax, or end of the day, maybe we have to increase the school tax. We should be open to all those options, and the most impact of fast collecting money around the $25 million a year, just quick.
So
maybe
I'd like to speak to what you're saying, which is, because those are all the same proposals that every council person's been introduced to by the Partnership for Jersey City, which has lobbied all of us with a stack of letters about that high and emails, right? And so I just wanted to clarify, because for the record as well, about the sunset provision and the rationale and all of that behind it. So in terms of exploring other options, I'm sure every council person was asked to consider the commercial occupancy tax, the commercial parking tax, the residential parking tax, whole host of different options, among other things, along with auditing, as I think Councilman Robinson talked about, and auditing the school's funds and finding efficiencies, and maybe even raising property taxes as a result. and other things on the table, just putting it all out there. Knowing that there was no consensus on all of that, and that those things were still all being explored, all of those ideas being, having to require state enabling legislation, the idea for the sunset provision was to say, let's lengthen the runway, right here, for the plane to take off on this, give us more time to be able to work some alternative options out and work together on coming up with some solutions, because the alternative would be that the business community and the Partnership for Jersey City, which basically said to all of us, and each and every one of us, right? Let's just let the cat out of the bag at this point. That if you're going to move this along, well, we will oppose it, and then we will work to get a petition similar to the Polish statute and seek to rescind your ordinance, and therefore, even if we enacted it as of January, if you attempt to rescind it, then it now becomes like months and months later, and possibly a referendum, similar situation with the Polish statute. And so what's that? What could not? Correct. And so the idea of the sunset was, look, let's find an opportunity to try to work together, because we know that, I mean, I would bet on it that like they could invest $1 million into oppositional campaign, and so we would end up with no ordinance, it going to referendum, and no money coming to the schools during a critical year in which it now jumps up, the cuts to the schools jump up dramatically to 25 million and so forth. So the idea of putting in the sunset was not to deprive the schools of the money, but instead to try to fill the coffers with some money while we take the time, and again, to bring everyone together at the table, sit down and say, can we work on this together and figure out some alternative solutions, as well as it might include the payroll tax or some other options as well. I don't have the answer there, but bringing everyone together maybe around that and putting some transparency on it would hopefully.
If I may just respond to something you said, because when you say incomplete ordinance, I think that what I'm understanding is that it's problematic or incomplete to the extent that we don't have something in place for the collection and the administration. However, just as a thought, and Brian had said that it took Newark a while to do that, but Newark has done it. And I think that they're running efficiently and effectively now, so we get the benefit of that. I think if we do it, we copy Newark's model, whatever that may be, we can get up and running rather quickly, and it wouldn't be costly, because it took them time and energy and manpower to perfect it. They've perfected it, so if we were to go that route, yeah, it's gonna cost us some money, but at the end of the day, somebody's gotta pay. The money's gotta come from somewhere, so if it is an option, it may not be as problematic as we think it is, because someone already has a model.
So this is what is still they have a problem. That's the problem.
Well, they have a problem also because they're using their staff. It's my understanding not only to collect this tax, but to collect other taxes, and they may be in a position where they also have, you know, a larger amount, or they haven't, maybe their system is, they have a system, but it's not working as it should. We know that also happens. What I'm saying is you're not reinventing the wheel like they did.
We have to see
so that's a consideration.
Because we have to fill the $25 million 2019, 2020 school budget. Time-wise, we have not much days left. The months-wise, really. Because so a few months they have to plan. So if I'm the mayor, probably easiest way, fast way to collect the money is a commercial occupational tax. That's easiest to, and we know how much we collect based on.
It doesn't exist, Council.
No, I know that, but they're going to be campaigning, and actually those community favor, if they do right, because commercial, it's there, empty, they want to put it in the lease. So, because we got to fund the schools soon as possible. So if we do commercial occupational tax, if it's state approved, if based on state approved, probably we have to start collect in a couple of months. You know, because of all the realtor knows how many square feet are there. So also based on they say, if we put in occupational tax, we're able to collect around $20 to $30 million. So that we have the urgent funding to borrow where we own the time, and occupational tax is not enough. We have another tax that we can call the employer tax. So we can have under some time, so we collect the yeah.
I get where you're going, Councilman. I think that this is, to get this up and running is going to be a task, but we're up for it. And I think that if we get this legislation moving and passed as soon as possible, we can get that going. In order for anything to change, it would have to come from a state level, and the state level process is going to be lengthier than passing the legislation we have before us. And the state statute also supersedes anything we do on a local level. So if something were to change on a state level, it would come back to the board, to the council rather, to be changed.
If they do the commercial occupational tax, host and property owner increase their rent space $1 per square feet. If they employee tax, they impact $7 square feet. I don't know. That's what they say. Do there any way we can verify their numbers they claim?
I mean, I'd rather get into specifics right now with this. I think we could have lengthier conversations with this. But there's several factors, including the value of square foot of downtown, office space versus industrial space in the Greenville section, which is getting, $44 a square foot compared to $6 a square foot. So a dollar a square foot tax on those two types would be enormous difference. So I mean, there's numbers out there that we could all discuss, but for this conversation, I'd like to just stay with the payroll tax.
I understand.
Yeah. But we could have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm not against it. Actually, I have to consider about the payroll tax because we gotta find us some revenue resources to support our public school.
Yeah, this is the quickest route to get money into the city's coffers. I believe so. I believe passing something through the state legislature is going to take some time, and I believe that once that's done, it's going to come back here anyway, so it'll supersede any existing legislation.
Will be now. 4 or 5 years later, we gotta find the other resources, which is that we should do that employer tax added to occupational tax added to tax event to that annual service charge sharing program. We gotta put just several. Other than that,
No, I get that, and that's all going to have to be done at a state level. But this is a good first step in accomplishing some of that deficit. Yes.
These are been internal conversations that the council president alluded to around this, and then I think the administration decided to move this forward. One of my concerns is that given the need for funding immediately, if we were to pass it now and a petition effort was successful, just like the statute petition was successful, we wouldn't be able to put this on the ballot until November 19, and the ordinance would be fully suspended until that point, which means no funding until there's a vote.
What referendum?
And zero funding. So my understanding from reading the Faulkner Act statutes, and I did go talk to the law department about it, but didn't know this was coming, so we could go back to that conversation, was were we to pass this in February, second meeting of our likely second meeting then, that we would avoid the sort of time frame under which this would conflict, and were they to do a successful petition effort, a petition vote would happen somewhere in the range of the July-ish area, which would at least isn't ideal, but is at least 3 months before or 4 months before November. And so I'm wondering, just is there, from the administration's perspective, what the thinking is on pushing it now versus waiting until February and potentially clearing that threshold to not have it pushed all the way to November 2019.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I could definitely bring that back to the BA and to the mayor to discuss.
then organization or groups who opposite employee tax, they're going to spend $1 million to campaign to bring the referendum, then we're going to be a real problem because we have no backup plan. So in order to build a backup plan, one of those things, if they favor commercial occupancy, let them lobby to state, let them come up plan B on the table. So just in case, if employee tax is the referendum, if it's failed, we do that, then we can go to backup plan. That's what you guys want. Then we go to the occupational tax. Because the problem is that we don't have the backup plan. Once the referendum goes on, if, who knows, they're gonna use it, $1 million special marketing fund, they say job tax, kill the job in Jersey. And a couple of major corporations in Jersey City, they make us, we ready to move out Jersey City. You know what that means then? So we should have plan B, but we don't have a plan B.
Also don't assume that just because it goes to referendum, that it would be defeated, that the ordinance would be defeated. It wouldn't
No, but the timing still would be
Oh, no,
such that.
I understand the timing, but if
Yeah.
it would, that money, I believe,
But it
would
would go
still
to
be due.
referendum.
It would-
I mean, we could probably guarantee it's going to referendum. I think I could.
But if it's passed, you still have that
Yeah.
That's collectible. Yeah.
And then also too, if it were to come up in February, for example, this would also give us all a little bit more time to explore some of these options and Plan B without hindering the timeliness of the funding that does need to go to the school district. I mean, we all know this is a problem that's been kicked down the road for 30 years, and now it's in our court, so we have to deal with it. So.
I don't know, so you guys are smarter than me, so come out plan, but
So every other plan has to go to the state for approval, legislation, right? No matter what tax or.
Correct. Taxes, which would have to go to vote, because they still have the 2% cap, right?
Yeah.
So then,
It's a
because
tough
they're
one.
to go to vote anyway.
The 2%
2%
cap
cap
is
is
still,
complicated.
it's still in effect, but it's complicated
Yeah.
how it is applied. It's mathematical.
Sure.
and
Yeah, so it's-
I know how to do that, I would be
It's
able to.
not necessarily just the straight numbers, it
Yeah.
excludes certain
Certain
items.
items.
And, yeah, so the total number, but it's still in effect, yeah.
So I would ask you to look at that a little more closely, because we had a speaker who said to us at the council meeting that the state had lifted the 2% cap on the school. I don't know.
Okay.
I thought it had been debated and they decided not to do it at the legislative level, but we can confirm for sure.
so John, what is your plan? If you,
This is the plan, it's forward.
no, no question about it, but I mean, if you go to the referendum and the next year, if you get go like this, then what is plan B? I'm really, because the school definitely need the fund.
I think that we're also open to some of the other discussion that's been going on with changing other legislation with taxes and stuff. You know, like you said, it's gonna have to be a combination of things going down the road in order to fulfill this.
The creative tax account is not enough, because the school continuous spending is increased, you know. So we have the multiple choice. I don't know. But I'm supporting the employee tax. So this current time, because we have no choice, but I like to see we have a backup plan B, which is whoever favor, let them come up with a plan B. Let them go state campaigning, lobbyists, let them do it, you know? So we have a choice in the city of Jersey. I mean, we should be,
So, one thing we could consider as a council, and I don't know, I have my concerns around the timing of this, which is just kind of more, it's about getting the money to the schools, and kind of paradoxically, if we wait, I think they might get it sooner. But one thing I think I would certainly be interested in drafting, and it's ceremonial, so to speak, but a resolution requesting certain things for the state to do. Obviously, it's just ceremonial, but it would be the council sort of saying, we think the state needs to do things. You know, first among them would be a small business exemption to this. But I'd be happy to kind of talk to everybody about kind of what are some things we can put together, and then even go down to Trenton as a group and try to talk to some of our state colleagues, and you know, I think hopefully get them to make quick changes, and that could include potential additional revenue sources for plans B, C, D, and F.
I think the sentiment is right, but I think if that's the case, we should just sit down with Senator Cunningham and
Sure, bring them in.
Senator Stack and
That's fine.
figure out.
Invite them to the caucus.
We could go to their offices and maybe speak to them.
Yeah.
So they're gonna potentially fight this, right? They may potentially fight everything. Who? The business owners that will put up the $1 million. If they're gonna potentially fight this, then what makes them wanna agree to the what's the square foot tax? Occupancy.
They proposed it.
Yeah, but.
That's their alternative.
Yeah, but they do understand that it's gonna take a year to get that passed.
Not a little bit. No, I think they can get it from the
They got money to lobby the state, get moving fast if they want to. You know, the key is that we gotta find out some revenue resources to support the public school. That's the number one. But City of Jersey not only one, just employer tax, we should be other alternate backup plans behind us. Because this is not going to solve the problem what they show fund. So if the certain community want to occupy the tax, then I would encourage to them change the state statutes so we can have a two options, the better for us. That's what it means, you know?
Okay.
All right.
Obviously, this conversation is far from finished, but let's move on with this agenda, okay?
Joe Clooney has been sitting in the.
Oh, Joe, I forgot. I'm sorry, Joe. Gotta move you along. Let's go. Yes. Joe, come on. What's your resolutions, ordinances?
W and X, and then, no, 10U, UV, WX, and then the one that didn't show up.
10U is a resolution ratifying the submission of a grant application and authorizing the execution of a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the 2019 Bikeways Program to fund the Jersey City Morris Canal Greenway project for the city of Jersey City.
Correct, it's a carryover from the previous year. We resubmitted the same, but we have a larger master plan for this entire greenway. We're going to come before you shortly in the first quarter of next year and possibly seek an New Jersey Infrastructure Bank loan at super low interest to build the entire thing in one shot with multiple phase project. And then this is the old Morris Canal right-of-way. It's largely unused. A lot of it meanders through the Bayonne, Jersey City border. Country Village, I think we talked about a Greenway Park there. It's time to connect all the dots and put this through and have a single connected bike network, pedestrian type network off of city streets, in addition to complementing everything we're doing in the city streets. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Motorcycles too, I think. Oh, was that out loud? I'm sorry. Thought that was in here. All right. Should I move on to V?
V is a grant application with the DOT under the 2019 Safe Streets to Transit program.
Correct. This was another carryover from a previous year. Typically with these smaller DOT local aid projects, we submit every year just to ensure that we're at least in the running, and sometimes it may take 3 or 4 cycles to get funded. So U, V, and U and V are repeats. W is a brand new one. If I may move on to W, Robert, if you don't mind. Sure.
Are they familiar with what's going on here?
Yes, very much so. We have it's part of the master plan. Okay. Also, we have the bike master plan that's currently underway.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So U actually $529,000, V is $531,000, and the W is $7 million. Almost the total is almost $8 million grant. We talk about it, but it's all ratified. So in other words, due date is over. Any short of manpower to apply the grant? What was it?
To actually manage the projects?
Yeah, I mean this is supposed to be done October, and now it's in November. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no. Oh, I have the explanation for that. The DOT allows us 1 month, approximately.
Extension?
Well, no, it's a month typically. So if the deadline was October 18th, which I believe it was, we have 1 month to submit the resolution. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could always do it ahead of time, but usually a lot of these come down to the final moment, as you might imagine. Many things around here do. As long as we don't miss the deadline.
And also 10W, we talk about $7 million, a prime purpose of making roadway improvement.
Yes,
But
so,
if we see the Central Avenue sidewalk, is a really, so most of the dangerous sidewalk in city of Jersey, probably we can say that the Central Avenue sidewalk, because, you know, they done 25 years ago, and probably we have, John, it's okay, have some sleep.
I'm very familiar with Central Avenue. We have $1 million already in a previous grant. We're planning on paving it next year. However, we do want to find out what happened to the $7 million. We did ask, Senator Stack actually asked us to come up with an estimate. The estimate we prepared was everything: lighting, sidewalk, streets, everything. I never did hear back. He was going to try to get it on the legislative budget, but I'm not sure whatever happened to that. At a minimum, we have $1 million to pave the road in the business district.
Instead of $1 million of road paving, and the next year, if it's a fund available, you know, we gotta have to do audible gain. Instead to do that, maybe that $1 million we reserve that, and wait till next year, maybe we get some state grant to do all of this streetscaping together. I think that's a more smarter way to do. So can't you find, is it $7 million we cannot ever spend for that purpose of Central Avenue?
So this $7 million, just so you know the way the thought process behind this, there's already $3 million in the capital bond for Grand Street. That was the minimum that we figured we were going to need if we were going to make no changes to accommodate any pedestrian or bike changes. However, as you all know, we've had the lengthy Grand Street study, which we're just about ready to present to you all. If that measure is passed, we're looking at a full amount of 6 to 7 million, closer to 7. We'll need the 3, plus we'll need the supplement from the DOT here to get us close.
And probably our city caucus and council probably know that. We have several lawsuits on Central Avenue sidewalk. You know, because of the sidewalk like this kind of gaps. A lot of people have filed a suit. And I see a couple of them, you know, already. So my concern is that, Joe, your men do something work-wise, you know, so look into them matters, you know.
Yeah, if we do get a full shortfall in the funding, we could look into doing spot repairs. It's not ideal, but it'll eliminate the trip hazards. There are many.
You know that, right?
And the matching is going to be very difficult.
So you're going to find out with the senators, Nick Sarkozy, how it's going to extend?
We'll reach out and get an answer and
Okay.
see if there's any chance of that, and then we'll go to Plan B on that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
X is 10X. It's a formality.
Authorizing us to enter into a cost reimbursement agreement with the state DOT, Division of Local Aid and Economic Development for the Martin Luther King Drive Section 2 intersection improvements.
Yes, sir. You might notice that we paved last week from McAdoo Avenue up to the light rail, roughly right around the light rail, Virginia Avenue. Anything north of that is going to require the concrete work to be done first. We bid this contract in September. We're still in a holding pattern from the state and the federal government as to whether we can go ahead and make sure that all the DBE goals have been met, or at least applied for properly in the contract that was bid by the lowest bidder. And I anticipate that at the next meeting, hopefully, we will come before you again with a recommendation to award that construction contract, which this will fund using wholly federal funds. So the $650,000 or so for this agreement, which is just a ratification, will come from the federal government. We'll complete the intersection improvements, which is largely the concrete work for the handicap ramps, any of the pedestrian signal upgrades, and then we'll complete with the second half of this project, paving everything from the light rail to the north end. Once this concrete contract I'm talking about is done. So we're probably looking at fall of next year. If we're lucky, midsummer, to finish paving the north side. We have to finish the concrete work. We haven't even awarded that yet, so.
Can we pave in the summertime before school starts?
The goal is to have everything done, MLK, from one end to the other, completely by the summer of next school year. September of 2019, school year.
We definitely need to pave in the summertime. I mean, it's horrible. The traffic is already bad enough.
Yeah.
And you got school buses and everybody else, they closing off the streets, you know.
So we'll have six other miles underway at that time, just so you all know, citywide, 1 mile in each ward. But yeah, no, MLK, ideally, we would have loved to have finished it right now, but again, we had this federal grant that essentially I inherited. That was applied for before I got here. So just so you know, in the future, we won't be applying for any federal grants less than $3 million. They're not worth the red tape involved and just the amount of labor that goes into them. And a lot of times, we have to outsource it anyway, so we're talking a few $100,000 to manage a contract of that size. But that'll be coming before you, hopefully at the next meeting as well. Award of the contract for construction and award of the contract for construction administration, and then we can move on from there. Unfortunately, we lose 3 to 4 months over the winter. So, if this was Florida, we'd be paving all year. We wouldn't have those issues. So we have that window. That's that as far as my road paving, but I have one item that did not make it here. It's somewhere in transit in City Hall. The final resolution, I guess it never made it to your office either. It's for a $17,000 contract to an architecture firm, a very small architecture firm, for a required detailed estimate that FEMA required us to prepare. Starting in early August, they notified us and said, we have the $4 million guaranteed for the value of what we lost in the bottom floor. An additional $2 million if we could prove that we can nearly eliminate repetitive loss. We gave them the idea of going to the 4th floor and renovating the entire 4th floor and making that 20,000 square feet of usable office space. 4th floor.
Private office, yes?
Yeah, we're so. So in the coming months.
What are your fees?
So we got a very detailed estimate out of that 17,000, which I will be presenting to you. We're looking at 13 million to get the 4th floor done and everything that comes with it, life safety wise. Suppressing fire for the whole building, adding elevators through the courtyard, staircases, fixing these elevators, making them state of the art, brand new ADA, and various other things, including enclosing all of the access stairways with glass vestibules and fire suppressing deluge systems. Basically, your staircases act as a chimney, sends fire straight up. So we're looking at, you'll have a lot more detail, but just so you can have food for thought, 13 million all in, 6 of which will be free from the government. So all in, for a 4th floor of 20,000 square feet, it's actually a steal. But of course, none of that comes without a lot of heartache and disturbance. And
We're going to be having some office councilors. I'm talking to you, Council President.
I'm sorry, I missed what he said.
3rd floor council office? Yeah. You say they have some space, remove the older.
In the law department?
Yeah.
The
No,
law
the
library.
3rd floor.
We don't need them.
Okay.
Boom.
We can talk about that offline.
But I do want to just finish with this note. At the next meeting, I will be coming to you with an emergency contract to immediately investigate the footings around this entire building. As you know, what happened in the back there during Sandy, apparently that is not the only place that this could happen and has already started happening. During the process of preparing this detailed estimate, it was noted by some construction code officials, construction management officials, and the architect that we may have some serious foundation problems with this building. That's going to be on a parallel path to anything with FEMA and anything that I give you in that report when that time comes. But we're looking at probably 130,000 or so to do some investigative digging at 9 different locations, determine how good the pile structures are and the pile caps above them, and then make a decision as to whether it's going to cost a hell of a lot more or we're going to get away lucky to restore what we have. So I just wanted to make sure you all knew that right away as soon as we know it, which is right now. Has everything to do with the back door. Hopefully it doesn't spread is the issue here, so.
Can you update us on what's going on with the contract for the speed humps?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we bid this, you all awarded it. I believe it was the first meeting of October. Prior to awarding that, we asked the lowest bidder, "Are you sure you can complete this project?" He said, "Yes, absolutely. We need it. We need the work. We could start within 3 weeks." After you awarded it, we had the pre-construction meeting. He said nothing, or they said nothing. They asked nothing during the bidding process. As you know, everything is in writing through BidSync. And then approximately 2 weeks after that pre-construction meeting, we received a letter with various accusations as to why the contract is not fair and not buildable. And basically, they didn't just ask for us to seek, to let them off easy, to not attack their $20,000 bond, which we are allowed to, but it is a very lengthy legal process. They had the gall to go ahead and say, "You must rebid this," so that they have the option to do this all over again to us. So what we've decided with the law department is that we're likely going to come before you if it was a legally binding contract via resolution, which that's the question right now, to default them so that we don't have to deal with them in the future. Right now, we have prior negative experience, and that may be enough, but we want to be sure. Long story longer, we are going to award at the next meeting to the second lowest bidder and hopefully simultaneously default the lowest bidder. So either way, they killed our window. It's not worth starting anything for 2 weeks and favoring 3 streets over 60 probably that we have to touch with speed humps. It's best to start the entire thing from start to finish from April through June of next year. Yep. Unfortunately, this is what happens with public bid. It's, well, yeah, some more. Because we're going to double the amount of, what you see out there now, it's going to be doubled under this contract. Yeah, absolutely.
Email, fine.
No problem.
Okay, from the top, let's do this.
3A is the only ordinance we have to discuss in that the law department is withdrawing E.
I'm sorry, 3A is withdrawn?
3E is withdrawn.
3E?
A is an ordinance authorizing us to execute a lease agreement for parking for the remaining employees at 30 Montgomery Street, at 135 Green Street, LM Plaza, for a parking.
Okay,
So 3E is withdrawn, right?
3D is withdrawn.
3E as in Edward is withdrawn.
It's gonna be back now in 2 weeks.
So next time when you come out, give us some more detailed information. When you log in now, which one is it? It's just very complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be someone here to speak on it.
Yes. Okay. Great.
Okay, let's take it for the resolutions from the top. We did discuss second reading and ordinances.
Well, just for any questions on 4A,
For 4A?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Council members, questions on 4A?
Just wanted to make sure there were any opportunities for questions. Alrighty, I just want to put it, okay, we can
Okay.
keep going, I just wanted to
You made the effort.
put it on the agenda, yeah.
10A is authorizing calendar year 2018 appropriation transfers. 3B, we got a huge email today from the CFO as the backup for this resolution, providing for the issue of 10B, general improvement bonds authorizing the sale of $9,447,000, principal amount of general improvement bonds, Series 2018, authorizing advertisement of a notice of sale, authorizing the chief financial officer to sell and award the bonds, determining the form and other details of the bonds, and authorizing other matters relating thereto and certain notes of the city.
Can't you explain to me more this one, 10B?
10B.
10B is the permanent financing for land acquisition for the Hudson Riverfront, Hackensack Riverfront Park, and the Newark Avenue streetscape improvements.
No, this bond actually, the city council approved it, the 09097, 09127.
09097 is the land acquisition for Hackensack Riverfront Park, and 09127 is the Newark Avenue streetscape improvements.
And the streetscape?
They originally banned bond anticipation notes for a project in 2010, and they're now going to permanent financing.
Okay, now, the 09097, 09227, how much was 09097 and how much 09127?
I'll have to get you that information, Councilman. I just got the note from the CFO and what they were for. That's all. Yep.
So ordinance 09097,
Yes.
how much we actually city council approved it, and how much spent, how much left?
Yes.
And the 09127, how much the city council approved it, how much left?
Yes.
And those one, whatever left over, is a surplus or we never issue bond 097, 09127, we never issue, we just want to, so what is this one?
Bond anticipation notes.
Okay.
So now we're going to permanently finance what we spent.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those money we're going to use for pay the portion of 2017C, $9.7 million. So 2017C, what was the issue we issued $9.7 million? And also, you don't have to answer today, but Wednesday. And also, 2017C, $4 million. It's a 1 year's note, it seems like, because 2017C is issued December 7, 2017, and the payable December 7, 18. So we want to know what was it, because I cannot remember that, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And also 2017D, $4 million, and the issue is December 7, 17, and the payable due is December 7, 6, 18. Another one, 7.734, the bond. This one have to be, you know, also, we gotta pay off January 18, 2019. So would you expend all those bonds, what it's gonna be, you know what I'm saying?
So Councilman, I'm going to hand you this memo that I have from our conversation earlier, and then I'll get you the additional information.
Yes, please, okay? And if it's leftover, why leftover, you know, all those things are a little more.
Okay, for sure.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, let's go home.
C is authorizing refunds due to overpayments on property tax accounts. D is canceling a portion of 2018 real estate taxes due to affordable housing restrictions on various properties. E is to cancel a portion of 2018 real estate taxes due to affordable housing restrictions at 131 Dwight Street. F and G and H authorize the business administrator to execute discharges of mortgages at 108 Randolph Avenue, 279.5 2nd Street, and 17 Romaine Avenue. I is a resolution amending 18-888, authorizing the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting properties known as 462, 466, 470, 474, and 478 Bramhall Avenue. We did J. K is granting a fireworks permit. L we did. M is authorizing the execution of a license agreement with the New Jersey City University for facility rental and usage. N is a resolution authorizing the settlement of the lawsuit Clayton Dabney versus the City of Jersey City. O is a resolution of the council authorizing acceptance of a small grant, but it's from the USA Swimming Foundation. P is authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the State of New Jersey, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, permitting the City of Jersey City to use the National Guard Armory at 678 Montgomery Street. We did Q and R earlier. Those actually were our first two. S is a resolution authorizing the city to apply for grant funds from the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. T, accepting grant funds from the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety for the Comprehensive Traffic Safety Program. On the next page, we did everything up to Z. Z1 is a contract with Obsidian Integration for the purpose and delivery of covert pole cameras for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. Z2, authorizing the award of contract to AAA Emergency Supply Company.
The Z1, this is, it seems like a wireless camera, is it right? The Z1.
It's a pole
So pole camera is wireless? Because when I see the specification, it's a mobile? Mobile, okay.
You want more information, Councilman?
No, it's okay, as long as you know.
Z2, contract with AAA Emergency Supply for fire hoses for the Department of Public Safety. Z6 and 7 were spoken about. Z8 is authorizing the amendment of an agreement with Netshirt. It's misspelled. Deneen and Hillman represent the City of Jersey City in various workers' compensation matters filed against the City of Jersey City. Z9 is authorizing a professional services agreement with Desha Jackson Law Group to represent the city in various EEO independent investigations. Z10 is a resolution ratifying a professional services agreement with the law firm of Goldenberg, Mackler, Saib, Mintz, Pfeffer, Bonke, and Gill to represent the city in the bankruptcy matter in re Gene Gaskins. Z11, an award of a professional services agreement with Calcagni and Konevsky for general legal services related to employment organization practices. Z12, a professional services agreement with Power, Gilgallen, and Rudy to represent the City of Jersey City, Robert Kakaleski, Stacy Flanagan, and Paul Bellenboyer in the matter of Jose Martinez versus the City of Jersey City et al. Z13 is a resolution ratifying and renewing a professional services agreement with Power, Gilgallen, and Rudy to represent the city in the matter of MEPT, Journal Square Urban Renewal LLC, MEPT, Journal Square Tower North Urban Renewal, MEPT, Journal Square Tower South Urban Renewal via the City of Jersey City. We've done 14 through 16. 17 is reappointing Mark Curtis as a part-time judge of the Jersey City Municipal Court. And Z18 we talked about with Mr. Bunbury. So, to adjourn at 8:34. I have a motion by Councilman Rivera. Wait, let me get this. By Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Prinzary. To adjourn, Councilperson Ridley was absent. Prinzary, Bagiano to adjourn. Yun.
Yep.
Mr. Solomon just left us. Mr. Robinson?
Sometime before. Oh, yes.
Mr. Rivera? Yep. Councilperson Waterman's been absent. Council President. Good night.